No, actually, there were players playing Graveyard in the elimination round.
Yeah.
Most notable, Chief J of TakeOver, a former top eighter from a prior Coronation Day, ran double Graveyard decks.
Good for him.
But was bumped out by Ash in the top 16. They looked like a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing with my Graveyard, if I had one.
I know.
Now, you have do you have every card but now but Graveyard?
But Graveyard.
Man, you are just killing it.
Living the life.
No, well, some of them are lower level than others. See, when you're up at a high enough tier,
that's
my
true.
log doesn't kill princesses.
That's a sad day.
So I've been really, that's, you know, some cards better than others, right? But I really want Graveyard. If it pops up in my shop, I've got the 40,000 gold set aside already. Bought,
That's
sold,
actually
challenge,
amazing.
let's go. Absolutely.
That's a wise way to do it.
Yeah.
Rainey, I want to talk to you real quickly. There has been a teaser of 4 new cards being released from Supercell. One of them is out that we know of, and it's Tornado. Talk about it.
I really get excited whenever new cards get released because I think Clash Royale is a game that benefits a lot when you start getting more and more depth, and I think its card pool has already expanded so much since I first started playing.
62 now?
It'll be 66 once these 4 are out.
Okay.
62 now. There'll be 63 on November 11th when Tornado is released.
Tornado is crazy. So as far as I understand, and I don't know if any of this is set in stone, it actually sucks units up for a 3-second duration time and puts them in one spot.
Oh, wow.
I'm just thinking of all the different things.
Wombo
great.
combos.
So maybe people can send us some haikus about the potential of Tornado.
Looks like Rumham has one ready.
Oh.
The Wizard of Oz. Tornado sweeps. Mega min. Oh man, I give up. Here's the thing.
Better ones,
I'm
please.
much more of a math person than a word person, so I hope that people watching can provide us with a really good haiku.
Yeah, please do.
If you work Tornado,
Clash
we'll read
NA
it.
open. That's
Yeah.
right. We don't have good ones.
Yeah, no, it's good. You guys have been providing them. They've been amazing to read. Also, let us know who you want to read them,
Yes.
so then we can read them after we come back from a break. All right, guys, our first matchup tonight, we have Ash versus the Killer Whale. So, the Killer Whale, returning top 8er.
Absolutely.
Ash, big YouTuber. Let's talk about them.
I think that the Killer Whale is a really good player. I think it's going to be tough. Ash has, obviously, being a YouTuber, has a large fan base and is actually really invested into the game. He puts a lot of time into it. So I'm not sure. I've not really seen Ash in the competitive environment quite yet.
Okay.
So I don't know how he matches up against a player like Killer Whale. But it'll definitely be interesting to see, and I think a lot of people will enjoy the match just because of kind of the glamour of it all.
I'm gonna root for Ash because as a YouTuber, I often hear feedback from the community goes, those guys aren't very good. They just make videos. Now I'm not very good, but Ash is.
He's a good guy.
Very solid. There's actually a few YouTubers named Ash's. This one is just Ash, not Clash with Ash, but very good player, over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's done very well in the qualifying events, and he's today gonna make his first Coronation debut. However, against him, Killer Whale is one of 4 returning members to the top 8. 4 of the top 8 are repeat
Let's
performers.
see who can take it.
Ash from Altar of Elites. What a clan name.
Rainey, let's talk about the stats here real quick.
All
We
right.
now have some new things showing on the side.
Yes, we do. We have their pretty little pictures for their clans and also their trophy counts. The win rate for all the players' scores as they have made it up to the top 8. So this won't actually reflect their performance in the top 8, but their journey here. We can see that both Killer Whale and Ash have about an 80% win rate, which means that they probably had one round where they went 2-1, something like that.
And as a heads up, Killer Whale is running a Royal Giant deck and an Expo deck. Ash is running a Lava Hound deck and a Golem deck. So we've got Golem versus Royal Giant here in round 1.
And there's a big connection with the Golem, not even separated yet. Look how much damage it did. 2 swings and the death damage, taking down that tower 1,000 health at a time. And still just a little bit more on top. That's the 2-for-1 deal right there. And another one, another Golem actually making its way across. Yeah, he's actually trading that Golem with the Royal Giant. So 6 elixir invested on the right side for Killer Whale, and Ash is going to invest 8 in his Golem, pushing down the left lane. And we'll see.
That's a really tough thing for the Golem player because at some point or another, you're going to have to commit 8 elixir to the board in order to get your Golem out there. And that leaves you with only 2 elixir at most to defend against Royal Giant, which locks onto your tower very quickly and can do a lot of damage.
Talk to me, Rumham, about the viability for Ash pushing for a 3 crown. Is that a good choice in this scenario?
I think that, yeah, you know what, I'm going to say yes, because if you look at the King Tower and the Crown Tower are pretty similar, and even though there will be 2 towers attacking, the Golem has a lot of hit points, and you have a good amount of real estate, I guess, to support the Golem with other stuff. The forward deploy zone gives him a lot of range, I guess, to play the Mega Minion and Archers up there really close to the King Tower.
All right, both big bodies are going to meet across the bridge. There's a lightning that does hardly anything at all. I can't actually believe it. It didn't even remove the Mega Minion, and that might actually spell trouble for Killer Whale, but good positioning on Killer Whale's Mega Minion. Tries to get air dominance, and it's really, really healthy. Archers behind will finally clean that up. A double trouble with the Golems is going to put a wrench in that system, and we can see just how long this push is lasting. Golem was so slow. 18 seconds left in the match, and now finally does a Golem make it. I think that furnace placement was quite good from Killer Whale, trying to mitigate some of the effects on the 3 crown, but 3 Golemites make it, and another Golem added to the mix. This is unrelenting offense right now from Ash, and I think this is absolutely how he has to play it, because he has to keep on top of the momentum.
I'm going to call it. I think that Golem was a bad play, and he might lose the game because of it. I mean, that's 8 Elixir way far up on the board that doesn't have a lot of support to it, and now he's just letting Killer Whale's defense build up. And now you've got a Royal Giant coming back with 4 Archers, all because of an 8 Elixir thing that doesn't fight back.
Let's take a look at what happens. The only saving grace for Ash right now is that they are actually in the extended drop zone for Ash, so he could technically play troops far behind the Archers and take them down. And it looks like he's defended fairly well, but again, the effects of Elixir management are not necessarily seen within a push. It can be something that shows up later on into the match. And it looks like, interestingly enough, Ash is switching focuses to the right side Crown Tower rather than trying to go for the 3 crown.
The Tombstone is played early like that in order to block any sneaky Royal Giants that might pop up in the middle and try to lock onto that relatively low health Crown Tower. A single Royal Giant can end this game, so Ash has got to be very, very careful about leaving his backside open. Big
lightning actually pushing that tower down really, really low. But as you mentioned, I think one key Royal Giant could end it all for Ash right now. 1261. He needs to figure out a way to defend this Royal Giant. Tombstone is put down, is going to absorb 1 shot. The log comes through, eliminates all the skeletons for Ash, and I think that Royal Giant is doing a lot of damage. Just 1 more shot. No, he needs to defend. There is lightning on the board. There's the big Royal Giant drop, and lightning will take it. He's just going to let the Royal Giant finish it off.
Yeah. There we go.
Interestingly enough, I actually, you know, we talked about the viability of going for a 3 crown. Obviously, Ash abandoned that strategy and switched over to attacking the Crown Tower. Might have been the losing decision to go for the 3 Crown Tower at all. And, you know, because he pushed once on that Crown Tower, pushed it down to 768.
Take that, put it over.
Yeah, if he had just made a second attempt on that Crown Tower, he definitely could have won that in overtime. Just a tragic kind of element of decision making that lost it all for
it seemed like there
Ash.
were a couple mistakes made there. But so mistakes aside, Royal Giant versus Golem, like who wins? Who's better?
It's interesting because they don't fight head to head, but I
Right.
do think that they play into each other pretty well. Royal Giant decks are looking for an opening. They're looking for you to be low on Elixir and drop Royal Giant. Royal Giant doesn't have that many doesn't have great stats, doesn't do a ton of damage, doesn't have a lot of hit points. It costs a lot of Elixir. But if you find yourself at a very low Elixir amount to defend with, it can do, I mean, easily 1,000 or more to your tower, and that's sort of what happened there. Whenever a Golem would come down, that left an opening for a Royal Giant to come out, and it forced Ash to sort of play offense and defense at the same time. You got to support the Golem on offense, but you got to defend against this pretty tough Royal Giant on defense.
Yeah. Talking also about some of the cards that I've seen for defense that these players are running, it's either Tombstone or it's Furnace, right? It seems like they kind of they switch out one card or the other. Talk to me about kind of the pros and the cons of both, because when it was just a Furnace and the Tombstone, it looked like the Tombstone actually was kind of countering the Furnace, because the Furnace would blow up and the skeletons just keep coming and keep coming.
Yeah, so Furnace and Tombstone are very different in a few ways. Obviously, the units that they spawn, the Fire Spirits are going to be more explosive, doing a little more damage, and they will also have the splash effect while also affecting air units. The Tombstone really can only, big lightning, hits the tower, hits the Mega Minion, but Crossbow getting hit by 1 lightning blank will still take half the health of the tower down.
And now there's no lightning to get rid of this Inferno Tower that's going to chew up that Lava Hound. Worth mentioning, if this is your first time watching a Coronation Day, that our double deck format requires you to win with both decks. So while Killer Whale did win with the Royal Giant deck, he must switch and win with this Expo deck. Ash has opted to also switch decks, although he was not forced to.
Interestingly enough, I think that might hurt Ash because the Lava Hound deck, as we've said many times before in these Coronation days, has trouble actually attracting the Expo's attention and keeping damage off their own towers.
Absolutely. I mean, kind of the same problem we had with Golem. At some point, Ash is going to have to put 7 Elixir in the air that does not block an Expo. It needs to not really die when that happens. Golem at least will absorb an Expo shot, and you can't really say the same thing for a Lava Hound.
All right, Mega Minion is a choice, and I do believe Ash has Lightning in hand. So we'll choose not to spend it just when it drops. The Ice Golem gets taken down quick, and I think that might have been the ideal time. 2 pups were slowed down a little bit, but still, that's a pretty big connection in terms of a Lava Hound push.
Yeah, Ash is still paying for the sins of that early Expo that he allowed to get a lot of damage through, because even with a pretty good Lava Hound push, he finds himself behind and dangerously within spell range with almost a minute to go in the game.
Interesting that Ash had to spend the Mega Minion to stop the Fire Spirits from doing significant damage to that left side tower. Expo set up on the right, Tombstone in exchange, and that's going to be a pretty good choice. How do you stop minions now? It looks like Ice Spirit will get the jump, and Mega Minion will clean it up. Expo just about done with the skeletons and now locked into the tower, and it has a lot of health left on it. I don't know where Ash is going to decide to spend the Lightning, but that's going to be a key card for him because this Expo is just getting way too much value than compared to what it should be getting.
Yeah, this is a pretty much the worst matchup you could imagine for a Lava Hound deck. I assume that what Ash was trying to do here is, knowing that he would have to win with this deck at any point, would rather try to steal a surprise game and then go into game 3 with a much better matchup with Golem. So far, though, it's not working out for him, and it's looking pretty bad for maybe a 2-0 loss in the first round.
It's going to be very tough to come back from this scenario, but I think Lightning is actually a very great card to have in response to Expo, especially in double Elixir time. You can Lightning and make sure you still have enough Elixir to drop, say, a Tombstone to protect from the remaining shots that the Expo has locked and loaded. But here comes the Lava Hound Miner combo. Miner played a little bit early to try to get some early chip damage on the tower. We are now in overtime, and actually, this match might be a little closer than we had imagined. Another Expo being dropped, and it comes down to this moment. Defending this Expo. No, he just lets it tag onto the tower, and it looks like Killer Whale's going to take the second game in this match. 2-0, moving on to the semis.
There it is, Killer Whale 2-0ing Ash. Ash going home not empty-handed with $100 and also the glory of making it to a Coronation Day.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Definitely
again.
a big deal.
Yeah, for making this far. Huge. So well done to him, but congratulations for Killer Whale. Moving on, one step closer to the finals.
So should Ash have stuck with his other deck to counter the crossbow, or do you think it was just kind of...
I mean, he's going to end up in that situation either way, right? Like, so let's say he plays Golem. I think Golem is a much better matchup because, kind of like we've seen in the past with Giants, you just put Golem in the field, it'll absorb all those Expo shots, but he's still going to have to go to a critical game 3 with that Lava Hound deck, and that time his opponent knows. I think Ash was trying to get the element of surprise there with by switching decks. Didn't really work out for him. Ash, thanks for making it, but
Whoa!
Whoa!
you are out for the day.
Okay, trashing up our living room.
Seriously, my mom's got to clean this up. All right, guys, let's go to a quick replay now of that game from Killer Whale. Something that's coming from game uno.
Yeah, Royal Giant, I think it all came down to the decision making here. This Royal Giant push just constantly chipped away at the left side tower, put it within range of lethal, and Royal Giant in kind of a 1-1 situation where both towers are down is incredibly dangerous because for that reason exactly, super simple, super easy, just drop the bad boy in the middle and it'll tag onto the tower that you need it to and take it down.
In this game, you can see he's trying to use the Tombstone. As you mentioned, Christian, the Tombstone is one of the key cards there in order to block the Expo, but it just wasn't enough. It's only 3 Elixir to a 6 Elixir Expo, so it makes sense that it wouldn't be able to single-handedly block it, but the killer was having minions, Mega Minion, minions, and Minion Horde meant that he had no ground-based troops to follow up the Expo with. We've seen people put Knights, Ice Golems, all sorts of things on the ground, and he just didn't really have any options to block that Expo with.
Yeah, so is that kind of the biggest thing, just having an all-air unit, you go against an Expo, what do you do? So what could Ash have done there? What do you think?
3 crown.
Okay, just
3
go.
crowns.
You have to,
Just gotta go for damage.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think your goal there is if you can crack through one of those Inferno towers, especially with a really well-timed lightning that takes out something else as well, you can get that snowball effect that lets you
go for
take for it. But what Killer Whale did that was really smart was continually use Fireball on the minion horde to prevent any sort of massive follow-up damage behind it.
Yeah, that was smart.
One of the things that we see too against those Lava Hounds, Inferno Tower. Inferno Tower, also an update coming out on the 1st, is getting changed a little bit. Health decreased?
6%, little
Okay.
bit, which is interesting because Inferno Tower actually had its health increased by 6% in the update.
Like, never mind.
Right. Well, they
take
did an
that back.
update where Zap would reset it because it heats up. It used to not reset when it gets zapped.
brutal.
So when they introduced that mechanic, they said, you know what? To make up for it, we're going to add some hit points because we're not sure it's going to be good anymore. Newsflash: Inferno Tower's great still.
Yeah.
So
Go back down.
decided to put that haircut back on it.
All right, well, there we go. Killer Whale, again, taking that one 2-0. He's moving on. Up next, we have G-Sam versus another trainer. This time it's Trainer Garrett.
Trainer Garrett.
G-Sam, we've seen him here before.
Have we? Have we seen
returning
G-Sam?
eight?
G-Sam is someone who has made the top 8 of the Super Magical Cup a couple
That's
times.
what it is.
Definitely not a nobody in the scene, but it's his first time making a Coronation Day appearance.
Woo-woo.
And actually, this is the only match that features 2 people who have not been here before. Trainer Garrett also
wow.
making
Everybody
a
else.
first Coronation. Right, 4 of the 8
Yeah.
are returners. But yep, these 2 are brand new. We've got G-Sam with Lava Hound and 3 Musketeers.
Hey.
And
Nice.
Trainer Garrett with
Love it.
Golem and Expo.
Golem
Okay.
and Expo.
Now, are the Lava Hound, Lava Hound 3 Musketeers in the same?
No, but Lava Hound has your favorite Inferno Dragon hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see what they open with.
100% win rate on both these guys, Rainey.
Yeah, means that making
That's
it up to
awesome.
this top 8, they have not dropped a single match. 2-0 all the way through.
Not just a match, a game.
Yeah, a
They
game.
literally 2-0'd everyone up to this point. Someone is going to lose their first game of the day.
Who's gonna lose it?
I really like this Tombstone into Furnace because, Tombstone costs 1 less than Furnace, and if they just sit here and inevitably just throw their spawns into each other, making no progress, that's got to be an advantage for the Tombstone player.
All right. Golem versus Lava Hound, the 2 tanks that are most like each other, the air version and the ground version. Golem ambles its way towards the Tombstone, but no supporting units are actually being played behind that Golem, and I think that might end up making this Golem push pretty ineffectual, and it actually leaves there's a big lighting. That's going to change the tide of the whole thing. Actually, I feel like that went
Oh, wow.
way better for Garrett than it did for G-Sam.
What is that?
And just like that, they're almost back to even elixir, a slight 1 elixir advantage for Trainer Garrett. And he's got a damage lead so far, so I would say that initial exchange went slightly better, although it's anyone's game.
It's interesting that Trainer Garrett did not.
Wow.
Advantage Furnace.
Right there, at advantage.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to note that Garrett chose to not drop any troops behind his Golem. The only support he gave his Golem was a lightning at the end, focused on defending first, and that ended up working out better for him.
I think both of them realized how much these pushes can snowball and opted to defend and learn from that and make the further pushes more effective. I really like putting Lava Hound in the same lane as Golem because Lava Hound's going to fly right over, allowing you to play your defense on top of the Golem, and then once the Golem dies, they just catch up to the Lava Hound.
There's the Inferno Dragon as the first line of defense for G-Sam, and that's a great choice against the Golem. Big lightning doesn't hit the Inferno Dragon, actually flies a little bit too far. Oops is the word that Trainer Garrett decides to use, and uh-oh is the word that I would use for Trainer Garrett. Here comes the Mega Minion and the Lava Hound. Pups have expanded. There's a big lightning, and this is going to let the Pups connect. Huge damage coming on. Can we see it? I believe in the Inferno Dragon. No. Please, please, no, kill it. Oh, come on, buddy. The tower's right there, man.
We've all had the dream of watching an Inferno Tower
melt.
100% to 0% a tower. Hasn't quite happened yet. Actually, though, we've seen Trainer Garrett missed G-Sam's Inferno Dragon. If you remember, we watched Backstab miss an Inferno Dragon 3 times
Yeah,
with a zap in the
zap.
last Coronation Day. It's very hard to hit. Aim for the shadow.
It's tough. It's a little bit chubby, but not as chubby as you would think it is.
Inferno Dragon's mom thinks he's handsome, so I don't know if it's worth
Wow.
calling him out
Tombstone
like that.
and
So cute.
Inferno Dragon, plus the Mega Minion to defend. There's a minor Lava Hound combo, and I really think,
Whoa,
what's
real
going
low.
on here?
Lightning
I
for
think
the win.
G-Sam might take it. I think he's already spent his lightning. He needs to cycle, but Trainer Garrett needs to end the match now. I don't think he can do it before the 6 elixir, and G-Sam
There we go.
takes it. Man, I really think that there's a concept that really you need to come to terms with if you're playing at this level, is that oftentimes if it gets to overtime, you need to change your style of play. You need to change your thinking because all-ins become very, very real. I think and I don't want to get too in depth about it, but the most obvious way to see this is when you're playing against a giant balloon player, you will feel the pressure of being in overtime because that giant balloon player, he can actually just push all in. He doesn't need to worry about defense. If his giant balloon makes it to your tower and kill it, you're done. That's exactly what happened there. GSAM, I would argue, was actually behind all match long, ended up pushing all in with that last Lava Hound push, and he won the game.
Right. Just a reminder again, when you go in overtime in this game, it's just whoever takes the first tower. You don't have the 3 crown, it's just first one to go wins.
That's crazy. At one point, Garrett didn't drop any troops down with his Golem. Do you think he was doing that to kind of test the waters and see what GSAM had to offer in his deck, or was it just a mistake?
I think you can do that, right? But it's so expensive. That's 8 elixir to get a little information, and that's kind of overpaying.
That's true.
Early in the game, dropping something like a Hog Rider and seeing what your opponent does, really good, because you find out what they're going to play against your Hog Rider, and then the next time you can back the Hog Rider up with stuff. But if you do something like play a Golem, and they drop an Inferno Tower and Inferno Dragon and kill it, you're behind 3 or 4 elixir just to find out that, hey, guess what, they have an Inferno Beam like every other deck that you're going to see, right?
So don't do that.
All right, GSAM up 1-0 against Trainer Garrett. If he wins this one, he moves on. Let's see if Trainer Garrett can tie it up.
There it is. Now, according to the double deck rules, because GSAM won with the first deck he submitted, that is the Lava Hound deck, he now has a swap up to his second deck, and as Rumham pointed out before the game, it's going to be 3 Musketeer, Ice Golem, probably some kind of 3 Musketeer mini tank deck, 2 Musketeers lock onto the tower. The log is going to stop any kind of further damage, but just look at how much damage they do in a short moment of time. The problem now is that GSAM has to deal, Fire Spirits, oh no, has to deal with the Expo, and it's going to lock onto the right side tower.
Unfortunate for GSAM, he does have Rocket in his deck, and we've seen how effective Rocket can be against these Expos, but it looks like he just didn't have it in that opening exchange.
Yes, kind of rationing out the elixir as well as having it in the cycle are 2 very difficult things to have right at the opening moments of the game. There's a moment to do it, if there's any. Woo. Misses it. Oh, no, you got greedy.
Oh, he misses.
No.
And just like that, I think Trainer Garrett might be tying this one up. It's really going to be on GSAM to take a tower because that one is gone.
Oh,
wow.
No.
Now, the interesting thing to think about is, as opposed to Expo mirrors or Siege mirrors, GSAM is not playing a Siege deck, right? So it's totally believable that he could make a comeback happen, but I think Trainer Garrett is set on playing defensively enough that I would be surprised if it happened. But 3 Musketeers can work some magic.
3 Musketeers are definitely going to have a hard time against defensive Expos because they have to walk pretty slowly across. And like most decks, Trainer Garrett is playing 2 spells in this, a Fireball and a Log, that are both pretty good against the doubled up Musketeers.
Yep, there we see the Fireball being employed, and I think the left side push is what Trainer Garrett has to go with. Log is going to be coming through.
Very brave, I would say, of GSAM to play this in a world where it's not unreasonable to play 3 spells in the same deck, and Lightning is super popular. It's really tough to commit 3 Musketeers to the board and get value for them.
And I think GSAM is about to lose another tower.
Wow.
And this really, you have to wonder, I mean, GSAM hasn't played his last card, and it's definitely not Zap at this point. But you really have to wonder.
Oh,
he's laughing about it. Yeah, this is brutal.
Yeah, and that just shows how punishing an Expo deck can be. If you make one mistake, one teeny little mistake, like rocketing the grass, you're done, right? Like that's you're done and over with. A single Expo is going to kill your tower and then sit there after for a while.
You know, these players at the level that we're playing at really, really want to gain as much value as they can for every single drop. But when you consider risk management, you know, is it really worth it that you rocketed that Ice Golem? You wanted to get both the Ice Golem and the Expo, which was the choice that GSAM was trying to make. Is that really worth it to kill the Ice Golem?
Just go for the Expo.
Let the Ice Golem give your tower a hug. It's going to take, what, like 100 damage?
I don't know. The new death damage is increasing.
Oh, yeah.
It might be 117 after. Yeah, right now, you're right. I totally agree that he was a little greedy trying to get it. Who really cares about the Ice Golem that much? Don't miss your initial target.
Yes.
You see that happen a lot with Elixir Collector. People will try to rocket the Elixir Collector and then also hit something else around, and they end up hitting maybe the Musketeer, but missing the Elixir Collector, and that was what you cared about.
That was so brutal. Like when you make a mistake like that, how do you change your play style and come back from behind? That
Against
really
Expo?
hurt him.
Start praying. I mean, I think here's the thing. There's a lot of
DDoS.
decks that are more forgiving of mistakes. For example, we've seen a lot of these, bowler decks that each push they're maybe doing 500 damage, and they're trying to do that 5 times throughout the course of the game. They're going to win that way. But Expo, if you let one Expo lock onto your tower
Done.
and you don't have a zap, you don't have a tower, you don't have anything to get rid of it, you're
happens.
going home. Thankfully, GSAM won game 1, so he's not going home. But we do have to go to a critical game 3.
So about these two decks, as we're going into the game right now, who do you think has a better matchup, just purely based on cards?
I will always love Three Musketeers, but Rumham is absolutely right. When you run multiple spells as a standard in this meta, I really don't think Three Musketeers, you have to try really hard. I don't think it's impossible, but you do have to try incredibly hard.
I've got very bad news for GSAM fans out in the crowd. Trainer Garrett is back to his Golem deck that he played earlier, and the Golem deck has Lightning.
Oh boy, didn't choose to use Lightning in this push, and the Miner will tank up for the Musketeer. Megamina gonna get a swing, mitigate some damage with 500 on the first Three Musketeer push, and one that we will probably never see ever again.
Great Ice Golem in the middle there, drew 1 Archer and the Mega Minion. That is, what, 4.5 elixir worth of stuff that is dead because of a 2-cost Ice Golem.
Wow, value.
All right, game state back at neutral. Here comes the hippity hoppity fire spirits. Uh-oh. Where are we going? Oh, one made it.
That was 5 elixir that didn't do much anything. I mean, the idea there was to absorb and pull the fire spirits towards the center, but because of the late summon, just because of the positioning,
One makes it every
one will
time.
make it.
There it is. Not worth it. I don't know. Rumham, you're gonna have to talk to me more about that one, but I really don't think that was worth it.
The answer there is basically he didn't want to attack at all. He knew that it was going to be unprofitable to attack. So you have the option of basically throwing away, 3 to 4 elixir on an attack that goes nowhere, or just rocket their tower and at least make some progress towards it. At this point, he's going to draw the lightning over the right side. That is 6 elixir now that cannot back up the Golem, leaving the Musketeer and the Mega Minion free to slay that Golem and prevent damage to his tower. I think that rocket might end up being pretty smart because it let GSAM control the tempo of the game.
And I think he's identified correctly. Simply amazing. I mean, GSAM, I think, made a decision that was very, very involved, kind of very educated. And I think he reaps the benefits for it. Mitigates damage from the first Golem push. But
That's
now
a
has
much better
the,
Inferno Tower.
Yeah, this Inferno Tower will at least get some kind of value. But it's interesting too, because he basically had to defend that Golem push without an Inferno Tower. He's gonna actually trade Golem drop with Rocket.
He's going to need a little more than 2 rockets, so it'll have to be the 2 rockets and, I don't know, an arrows to maybe take it out. But he's going to have to,
Oh, he
Wow.
actually chooses to zap the 1 Musketeer rather than the 2 because he wants to go aggressive. Trainer Garrett calling out GSAM right now. Do you have what it takes to defend this Golem? No!
Oh, the skeletons!
Oh, and the zap takes down the rest of them. And I think that Trainer Garrett is going to earn the tower for it. No, 236, but he does have lightning to close it out.
Slow.
He does need 1 big rocket, but the shield on the guards are going to block that area of attack. Ooh.
That's the toughest skeleton in town.
Yeah.
And now a lightning will clear this game out right there for Trainer Garrett.
Trainer Garrett 2-1ing GSAM. He now is our second semifinalist. Moving on, he's joining Killer Whale, going for that $2,000.
It's too bad. GSAM, I think, of all the people who brought decks today, his was the most innovative, the most brave in a lot of ways. We don't see a lot of Three Musketeers, even dedicated Three Musketeer
What happens to
players.
bravery here?
Yeah. No, but seriously, I mean, not a lot of people are bringing Three Musketeers because of all the spells, and you're seeing why his Three Musketeers deck failed to close it out against all of these spell decks. And the Inferno Dragon, really cool. That deck actually hasn't lost at all today.
You're right.
You're right, because he 2-0'd everybody and he won his first game. So if he could figure out another way, bring that in, that'd be good. But until then,
Nope. Oh man, it's so
Bye.
sad. What a sad thing to do. All right, let's go to now our reverse replay between the match that we guys just saw between Trainer Garrett and GSAM Rainey. Walk me through what's going on.
This is a big reason why you have to prioritize your targets with Rocket. It's got a small area of attack, and if you miss what you're aiming for, you get dunky-dunked. I mean, look at that. That tower is
That hurt.
actually getting demolished.
That's a dunky dunk if I've ever seen one.
That's a dunky-dunk.
Yeah.
That's done. It's a done deal. 1 crown to 0. Easy life for Trainer Garrett.
and in this one, you're just seeing how at one point, and we actually talked about this, as the game gets closer, it becomes more about taking the first tower as opposed to the most total damage. He's normally been lightning the right side, instead opted to lightning the left side in order to clear out the defense against the Golem, take that tower, and then at that point, you just have to survive another 10 seconds or so in order to win the game.
All right, well, there we go.
Okay.
Congratulations again for Trainer
Congrats.
Garrett. Moving on, before we go into our third round of 8 battle, let's go ahead and pull up the brackets so we can kind of get a little quick update from you
That
guys.
bracket.
If you're just now tuning in to see what's been going on here. We've got Killer Whale moving on, as well as Trainer Garrett. These guys are going to be the semifinalists. Marcus 35 and Boom is coming up next. But so far, quick kind of recap of the day. Past 2 matches.
2-0, Killer Whale begins to demonstrate why he is such a great player in this game, and I think that he's very confident. The thing that interests me is so far we've seen multiple Expo decks, despite the fact that in the last Coronation Day we saw Expo get demolished by Royal Giant. I am incredibly surprised that people are not moving off of the Expo deck because I feel like it has very big weaknesses to things like Giant Bowler, Royal Giant, Golem. There's so many decks out there that you can pair with Lightning, for example, even. It's not even just the big bodies, it's the Lightning too, that I forgot to mention. That I'm surprised people are still getting away with it.
All right. Now, it does seem that Lightning is a really Lightning and Log. I feel like are the 2 spells that are just the go-to right now. Are you think considered the strongest in tournament?
I think absolutely you're going to want to run at least one small spell and one big spell. For a long time, it was Zap and Poison. I mean, it felt months, almost every deck, no matter what the archetype
had
was,
it.
would run Zap and
That's
Poison.
why I couldn't do spawners.
But with the most recent changes, yeah, that's right. That's why your spawner deck was just so bad.
Never
But with
made it.
Poison being removed, it was almost oppressive in a way. It was the most popular, and with Poison being brought down to earth, there's been a lot more variety in spell usage. We're actually seeing a good amount of arrows, which hadn't seen play in a very long time.
All right. Well, now let's quickly remind you guys what these guys are playing for. This is Coronation Day number 5. We've had 4 already champions that are going to be getting $2,000. They're moving on to the arena battles. And here today, we're looking for our 5th. After the arena battles, 8 will move on to the crown duels. And that is where it gets serious, playing for $15,000 and a chance to go to visit Supercell HQ.
That'd be such a cool trip.
It's going to be amazing. I'm going to try to find a way to kind of weasel on it.
And once in a lifetime, how often do you get to go to Finland?
Yeah, never.
cool.
I haven't.
Never. It's, it's
Finlanders,
beautiful.
let us know.
Cold though, bring a jacket.
All
Finlanders?
Finish.
right, finish.
Finnish people, that makes way more sense after you said it from him.
Okay, make a haiku about Finnish people, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
Great.
About
Send
Finland.
us a haiku because I love them and I need them
Yeah.
because they have terrible ones.
The haikus
we
have been so good.
This is not a salon
is not
of
a
the most
creative-
intellectual writers here.
creative corner.
Clash NA open. Remember 575
Syllables.
not words.
Not words, Christian.
And they'll be great. Yeah.
And again, make sure we do these broadcasts every Sunday, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Sunday, Monday, and Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Thursdays are getting changed now to 8
Totally.
p.m. So we have the West Coasters out, so
Yeah.
they're not rushing, they're not at
Watching
work.
in their
at
car.
work.
Coronation
Don't
after
do
dark.
that. Don't do that.
Coronation after dark.
It's going to be super great. It's going to be amazing. So that's when you guys can tune in. And again, we have so many more.
And
This-
tomorrow,
this is-
Halloween.
Tomorrow is Halloween. That's right. So you guys make sure you tune in for that.
Dress up with us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we're definitely. I saw the costumes.
We're
dressing up.
We've got some
Yeah.
costumes. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. All right, next match we've got Marcus 35 versus Boom with an exclamation mark.
Boom.
Marcus
Is Boom gonna
35.
just boom it?
Well, I hope so. We've talked about how when you get into these big events, you start to not only see the same players, but the same groups of players, the same clans.
Yes,
And
yeah.
this is a story of top clans in the game. Marcus 35 representing Silent. Silent is probably the best clan that has not yet been represented
Oh, okay.
here in the
Yeah,
top
this is
8
the
at
first
all.
time.
Against Boom, a member of Hammers Esports. You might have heard of Hammers Esports because full frontage from the first Coronation Day, Naruto Uzumaki from a previous Coronation and today, and of course, Backstab X, the winner of the last Coronation Day.
Wow,
Yeah.
they're killing it. So we've got Marcus has got kind of his clan on his shoulders right now. While we get into this game, who do you guys think it's gonna be? Rainy.
I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Marcus 35.
Boom! I'm taking Boom.
All right, let's see who it is.
Anyone who's fun to say is my favorite. Oh, this is a tough counter push right
Oh,
here.
gosh.
It was a 4 for 4, but of course the Hog Rider didn't do much, and it let the Mini P.E.K.K.A. survive, and that is making a terribly crazy counter push.
This
One
is
swing,
going to be damage.
2 swings.
The mini Pekka goes to work.
Oh,
Wow, that's going to be heartbreaking. Really, the big thing to notice there was that Marcus 35 played Skeleton smartly to try to gum up the mini Pekka and get it to slow down. But Boom had followed it up with an Ice Spirit, jumped up, took down all the Skeletons, and the mini Pekka made just a straight run for the tower and got its food.
Mini Pekka is the forgotten one.
Yeah.
I mean, for months on end, Mini Pekka was one of the most commonly played and most feared troops in Clash Royale. But unfortunately for the little guy, Mega Minion has almost wholly replaced him. And I think people forgot just how hard that card swings.
Yeah. The mini Pekka went on a journey to the mountains to study and train. And now it's back, terrorizing Marcus 35 in this match here. Royal Giant number 2 heading its way down the field. Boom is looking to make a second push now. And I think this is telling to me in that Royal Giant as a beatdown card really does not have so good of an opportunity to sit back and defend, but I think Boom is identifying that he's going to try to push the Royal Giant forward and force Marcus 35 to play Elixir on defense to stop damage coming on his right side tower.
Now remember, Royal Giant outranges every defensive tower in the game aside from, mortars and expos, those sort of things. And so what happened there was he played the Inferno Tower within range of the existing Royal Giant. Oh no, another one!
No! Keep it away! No!
How much damage per swing is that?
572.
It's a lot.
570
It's a
something.
big boy.
Goodness.
At max level, it's I think 860 at the very top of the ladder. It is
He's
nuts.
chucking 2 rockets every time he swings.
Now we've talked about how when one tower is down, Royal Giants are at a big advantage because you can just play the big boy right there in the middle, and he's got a long enough range to just start shooting the tower. A lot of pressure on Marcus 35 here to take a tower in the next 27 seconds, and while he's trying to take the tower, he's got to stop a Royal Giant from knocking his other tower down.
Yeah, this is very, very tough.
Very smart.
I actually think it's interesting because the Ice Spirits have been so good. I really feel like, aside from the big swings from the Mini Pekka and the Royal Giant plays, Boom has really been winning these exchanges off of his Ice Spirit placement. Both times, on the left side and on the right side, the Ice Spirit has allowed the Mini Pekka to get a swing on the tower or multiple swings, and also allowed the Royal Giant to survive a push that would have otherwise defeated him. Opened up space for, say, the Mega Minion to really do work and gain air superiority. I really think that Boom was just playing the supporting cards much better, and that's what earned him the win.
Okay, guys. How do I recreate that mini Pekka push and just destroy everybody?
Whew. Well, the best thing you could use is a very tough tank that's going to draw a lot of attention.
Okay.
One of the most common things for months was Giant backed up by Mini Pekka because all of the enemy defense would just lock onto the Giant, and the little Mini Pekka would run along the sides and just chop it
everything in his
down.
path.
And he moves so fast that he could actually, as you saw with the Royal Giant, run ahead if there's nothing to fight and just whoop, jumps on the other side, gets to the tower,
So
chops it
crazy.
down.
Crazy.
Mini Pekka's a good dude. I don't know what happened to him.
When we talked about what happens when you let an Expo accidentally do its damage, what happens when you let a Mini Pekka accidentally do its damage? It's kind of a similar story.
Yeah, that was almost
Very.
just as bad.
Mini Pekka is easy to stop. There's a lot of cards that will counter a Mini Pekka.
Well, he's super distractible, like
Right.
Expo.
But if you're spending all your resources trying to stop that Royal Giant,
What are you gonna do?
you know who I bet he missed? Skeleton Army. Skeleton Army would have stopped
Ooh, yeah.
Mini Pekka and the Royal Giant at the same time. But there's only 8 card spots, gotta pick wisely.
So if you're Marcus 35 right now, do you switch your deck or do you bring the same one?
I think that you research what your opponent is playing next, which maybe Rumham can inform us. And you
Let's
make a
see.
decision based
So
on
Boom
that.
won with his Royal Giant deck. He's got X-Bow. Both of Marcus 35's decks have Log, Inferno Tower. One has Fireball, one has Lightning. So there's a good chance for Marcus 35 to turn this around, but of course, X-Bow's a tough deck.
It's an Expo deck. There's the Miner popping up just in time, and the Musketeer will continue tanking after that. And the Ice Golem will actually help, and so that's a pretty good defense Marcus 35 had to put together in a short amount of time. Boom tried to pull a fast one on him, but Marcus 35 was quick on the draw.
No mini Pekka push for you.
Marcus
Yeah,
35 is a very experienced Siege player, and you see that actually a lot with the Silent Guild in general, Silent Clan. They play a lot of Rocket Cycle, a lot of Expos, so I'm sure he has a good amount of experience defending against decks like this and knows the proper cards to hold in his hand for when Expos come down.
The old Miner Ice Spirit, 4 elixir combo that gave him 500 damage. Not bad. Now he has to answer to the Expo. A big log actually misses the Ice Golem, and that's going to be pretty key. Slows down the Expo to a crawl, but I think the Musketeer's going to die.
No, too late.
That has to be infuriating, but not the worst day in the world. Not the worst day for Marcus 35, but definitely has to fight to push his advantage back.
Yeah, I've seen worse Expos in, let's say, the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not the word, I think he's happy to get away with still triple digit or quadruple digits on his tower, if nothing else.
Yeah. Miner is an interesting card against Expo because with its pop-up properties, it seems pretty well suited for that situation. Minions get stuck up by skeletons, and it's going to be a relatively even trade, but Marcus 35 got the fireball into the tower. Now has to defend against the Expo. Good positioning on the Ice Golem. We talked about how great this card is, and really coming in strong. Blocks the Ice Spirit as well as pushes the Expo down.
And if you're struggling with Expo, keep a note on what Marcus 35 is doing here, because he's done the same thing 3 times in a row to great effect. He's playing Ice Golem to the right side of the road and Musketeer as close to the wall as possible. That's splitting it up far enough that it's not easy for any one troop to gum it up, and the Musketeer has a really long range to lock onto the Expo and do a lot of damage.
Good positioning from Marcus 35, but again, another Expo drop. Big log is going to wipe out a huge amount of units. Good value from that log play. But in the end, I think one hug slows it down. Not the worst. Miner coming to tank for the minions, and this is actually one of the best use cases for minions over Mega Minion, is when you have a Miner tanking for them. Gets a good amount of value off of that. But again, this Expo is actually cycling really quick. Double 1 elixir drops plus 2 elixir, and 3 makes Boom's deck incredibly thin. And he's gonna lock on another Expo, and there's nothing on the field for Marcus to defend with.
And I think that's the key of what we've seen of these Expo decks as they evolve, is the lower cost cards you have in your Expo deck, the faster you can continually set up Expos. If your opponent has expensive cards, eventually they can't keep up with you.
Well, there it is. Boom. 2-0ing Marcus 35. Just like that, he is now into the semifinals, joining trainer Garrett and the Killer Whale. So, man, today's like the story of 2. We've only had 1-2-1, but these games just like
They've
that.
been going quick.
Just
They've
like
been
that.
going right when overtime flips.
Yeah, done.
I think that it's interesting because Boom has, for the first time, I think, since the first Coronation Day, brought back an Expo deck likening to our first champion, Ender. A very thin, very lean Expo deck that can get back to its win condition incredibly quickly. And we saw the effects of that. Man, that Expo was prominent in that match.
You could almost call that an Expo cycle deck. I mean, it was dropped. It had 1 elixir skeletons, 1 elixir ice spirit, 2 cost log. It was just constantly something in the way, and it just really never gave Marcus 35 a chance to breathe.
Well, let's take a look at a little replay from that match. Hopefully we get to see some of that Expo in there.
Boom in the first game had the big mini P.E.K.K.A connection, and I want you guys to look at that skeleton drop. Ice Spirit in the back takes down all the skeletons, and now the mini P.E.K.K.A is just running happily, gets to the tower and swings a bunch of times. That's what it means to gain value off your 1 elixir trades, and it means all the difference in the world. You really need to make sure you're respecting those cards.
And that might be the highlight of the top 8 round for me, because Mini P.E.K.K.A is a card that's
so great.
sort of fallen out of favor, and that shows, it's a good reminder, puts everyone on notice just how powerful that card is. But, we've talked about it. Expo, the most unforgiving deck in the metagame right now.
Yeah.
You make one mistake, you are going home, and that is unfortunately what happened to Marcus 35.
Oh, how many mini P.E.K.K.As do you think we'll see tomorrow?
I hope more.
Everyone's like, wow, that's such a great card.
Marcus
Yeah, how about
35,
play it?
great shot, but you're out of here.
Oh,
Psych.
no.
That went into Rainey's drink, I would have left.
He's like, I'm staying.
No, I'm back.
on.
He's coming back.
I'm sorry, I'm
That's
gonna
a
help you
sign.
on your way.
I am not an engineer.
Bye.
That was a terrible paper airplane.
Yeah, I failed out of school.
That was.
That's what we
Paper
learned.
airplane.
Paper
school.
airplane
That's
school,
really
that's
paper
right.
airplane
Yeah,
school.
so,
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, again, congratulations to Boom for moving on. Up next, Naruto Uzumaki versus Clyde, 2 returning members of the Coronation days here. So, the decks that they're bringing, are they similar to what they played before? Are we seeing kind of them changing up? Are they kind of following the meta?
You might remember Uzumaki from the last Coronation Day, Coronation Day number 4, where he brought double Royal Giant decks.
Yes.
He fell just short against an Expo deck, but his clanmate Backstab with also double Royal Giants ended up winning. Today, he's brought 1 Royal Giant deck, very optimized, doesn't have to split it with the second deck, which is Giant Boulder.
Okay.
So 2 very good
Both
anti-Expo
really good against
decks,
Expos, yeah.
but he doesn't have to make the decision of, I have to play 4 cards different. So let me play two kind of bad Royal Giant decks. Instead, he gets to play the best Giant Bowler and the best Royal Giant deck.
How much different of style are those two? I mean, I know they're both really good against Expo, but as far as like your thought process when going into it, what's the big difference?
Well, I think very much more than Giant Bowler. For Expo, your strategy is very streamlined, right? Basically, every time they play an Expo, just play a Royal Giant, and that'll take care of the Expo for you. No problems, guaranteed, because the Royal Giant sits back really safely, just starts shooting away. At the very worst, I mean, your situation would have to be incredibly bad if the Royal Giant drops and can't actually defeat the Expo before it dies.
Well, I don't know if this is good or bad for Uzumaki, but Clyde is not running an Expo deck at all. He has brought a Lava Hound, not all air deck, but a lot of air, and a Golem deck. The big thing that jumps out to me is that Clyde is running a Lava Hound deck without Mega Minion, one of the most popular cards in the format.
Interesting. So let's see how this plays out. Furnace is actually dropped, and that's going to help Naruto be a little more tanky. Man, that's a big connection, but ultimately not really going to change the impact. But Minion Horde gets dropped, and I wonder almost if that Fireball was even necessary. Fire Spirits were coming from the Furnace, as it were, and I think those Fire Spirits would have done a lot of damage to the Minion Horde.
You're right, and if he would have waited just a few more seconds, he might have been able to hit the pups and the minions with the Fireball and taken it out instead. But I guess it doesn't matter because he didn't take too much damage when all was said and done.
And that's kind of the benefit of playing on a safe side, right? Ooh, Skeleton Army across the river. Uh-oh, Arrows is going to take them all down, but the Royal Giant lives with about 50% health left, and that's an easy 1,000 damage on the tower.
Ooh. Now here's where Clyde has a chance to counterpunch really well. He has a 4 elixir advantage because, of course, Royal Giant costs 6 and doesn't actually kill anything, it just does damage to the tower. He can leverage that 4 elixir advantage into a Lava Hound, and because you notice, Uzumaki is only just now approaching 10 elixir.
All right, Lava Hound making its way across the river. Mega Minion is the answer, but minions will help the Lava Hound. Oh, one Lava Spirit takes down one of the minions. Now the Lava Hound is tagged onto the Furnace. He really wants to make sure no damage from the Lava Hound gets onto the tower, so that's why he's playing the Furnace so close. But the Fireball still has to be thrown in there to make sure that he doesn't take chip.
And that went really well for Clyde because with Uzumaki at low elixir and only a limited selection of cards, I think he had to make some kind of inefficient trades there. That Fireball did prevent a lot of damage on the tower, but look, Clyde now has a ton of elixir to counterattack with, and Uzumaki only has 8 at this point.
I think this game is going to be very interesting. I almost feel like Clyde big zap on the Minion Horde rather, and now here comes the minions tanked by the Lava Hound. Again, Furnace dropped incredibly defensively. How do you wipe out that Skeleton Army? Oh, and using the Fire Spirits from the Furnace does big damage to that Skeleton Army. And again, another good defensive play from Naruto. And I actually think this might favor him because in a moment where Royal Giant is racing against Lava Hound, I think the Royal Giant wins that situation. If it goes into overtime, I would say that Naruto has the edge.
We've seen a few situations where Uzumaki has been able to pull some pretty good elixir advantage out. Having both Zap and Log in the deck has given him a lot of opportunities to make 2 for 3, 2 for 4 kind of trades. One thing I really like in Clyde's deck is the Ice Golem, because it's sort of a miner before he needs the miner. If you have the Ice Golem just walking below the Lava Hound, when the Lava Hound dies, well, you've already got the Ice Golem in there.
There it is, and this is what we were talking about. Naruto is actually going for the trade. There's no way for Clyde to stop that Royal Giant. Naruto takes down the tower, and that's exactly, I feel like, what Naruto was waiting for, you know? He made elixir inefficient defenses all throughout the game, having to fireball, having to spend whatever, putting his Furnace in a dangerous spot, knew that his Furnace would not actually convert, but he knew that once it got into overtime, if he played his Royal Giant, even while the Lava Hound was actually pushing onto his territory, he knows that, okay, I'm gonna let the Lava Hound just drool on my tower for a little bit while my Royal Giant actually takes down your tower. He will win that race every time. Now, whether or not, if there was more time added to the game, I think Clyde would definitely be in a good spot, and that would be a bad play to do. But again, we mentioned, in overtime, the game ends when the tower gets taken down.
Even though Royal Giant it appears to be kind of a big, fat, slow card, it's actually pretty quick in the sense of the game. The time that it takes from casting a Royal Giant until it's locked on attacking your tower is only a few seconds, whereas a Lava Hound or Golem played in the far back
takes a while.
Yeah, you got time to make a cup of coffee or so. The catch there is, at some point, Clyde has to go for a big push, and that leaves a big opening for Royal Giant just to boom, boom, boom. When you're already at a damage disadvantage, it's really going to come real fast.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about, because you guys, we nothing gets past you guys in Twitch chat. We have the known Ice Golem spell. Want to talk about that really quickly, Rainey? What happens when you try to spell an Ice Golem?
What it is certain spells, I believe, the only one that I know that it doesn't work with is Rocket.
Okay.
But the Ice Golem has a weird effect where if it's walking in front of a unit and it gets killed by a spell, the unit behind it actually does not get damaged by that same spell.
Can I still force?
I think it doesn't work with lightning. It does work with rocket. Any sort
is that
of
true?
splash damage spell. The idea is if you play the Ice Golem first, and whatever the next thing you play after will be shielded. The freeze effect that's supposed to not affect allies accidentally as a bug provides them an invulnerability shield for one spell. Only to one unit and only for one spell. However, Supercell's already said they're fixing that on the November 1st update, so only today and tomorrow's Coronation Day will have to deal with that.
Oh, see if people can get creative. Right now, Naruto Uzumaki is up 1-0 against Clyde. If he takes this one, he will be our final semifinalist. Let's see if he can do it.
Now look at this, 8 Elixir in a Golem coming across the river compared to 8 Elixir of a Giant plus Mega Minion. I think I would argue that Giant plus Mega Minion is a lot more threatening and has forced more of a reaction than just the lone Golem.
We'll see. Bowler is taking a pretty good handle on this Golem so far. Expands the Golem after it pops, and now the Golemites are trying to get on the tower, but really big connection for Naruto on the right side and not so great for Clyde on the left. Uh-oh.
Lumberjack. Is this Lumberjack's debut?
Oh.
You know, I think it might be, actually.
I think it's the first time we've seen Lumberjack here in the... Welcome, Lumberjack, to the Clash Royale North American Open.
Lumberjack is quick, speedy, and does a lot of damage. And look, he got 3 swings, that tower's down to 1.7k. Big connection, but still, man, Clyde is letting these Giants through, and look at that. That Giant might actually push the tower down.
That was a very unfortunate mistake there by Clyde. He wanted to get the Furnace to distract, but unfortunately he also wanted to play the Furnace kind of far up. Played it just too far up. Giant was already too close to the tower, walked right by, and a tower goes down for Clyde.
Man, Clyde is being put in a bad spot. When you're playing a Golem deck, you really need all the time in the world to make sure your push actually goes through. And with Naruto knowing that he can actually play entirely defensively, I don't know if Clyde can really make this comeback happen just timeline-wise.
I mean, with over 65 seconds to go and a Golem already on the board, he certainly could have a successful push, but I agree with you that a lot of times these pushes don't actually do thousands of damage. They sort of just do 500, and then you got to keep making it happen over and over again. A really well-timed lightning could pull it out here.
Oh, hits the skeletons rather than the tombstone because the tombstone was actually too low health.
Ooh, oh, good point. You're right. It's going to target the highest health things. It's a pretty sad tombstone when skeletons have more health than it.
And this is what we're talking about. That push took 30 seconds and did only a tad bit of damage on the tower, and he only has 30 seconds left now and somehow needs to do more than what he did last time.
On top of that, Uzumaki has a lot of defense already ready to go. It's not a neutral board that Golem is walking into.
Yeah, Golem getting attracted by a tombstone.
Ooh. I wonder if that lightning would have been better off attacking not the tower, but instead the units around it. Because, so close. The bowler.
It's going to push him away. Maybe that's going to provide the Mega Minion an opportunity. Lumberjack makes it. What?
Overtime here. Clyde trying to stay alive.
And that shows how awesome Lumberjack is. Lumberjack does a similar amount of damage per second as the Mini P.E.K.K.A, but instead of having that big windup, it's one of the fastest attacking troops in the game. So with only a few seconds left, boom, 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 gets those hits in.
200 damage per swing for the Lumberjack, and it swings fast. Look at that guy go. Lightning is going to take down. Rage is not in range of the tower. Neither is it in range of the archers, but still going to defend up that push. Now Clyde has an opportunity. He's opened up an opportunity for himself. Golem in the middle spot can actually be very dangerous, but I think he got the timing wrong because that Mega Minion is going to be taken down. I think Clyde would have much preferred his Mega Minion survive and be tanked for by the Golem, but actually still going to make it to the tower with death damage, and the Golemites are still going to do a little bit of chip. Big question is, there's a big lightning.
He's leading. What a come from behind victory.
I think
he's got enough. He just needs the lightning again.
Whoa.
Cycle.
I just can't believe how that push transpired. I almost felt like there was a lot of elixir being invested in. Provided Naruto defended his tower a little bit better, would have allowed Naruto to have a big counter push coming through, but that lightning cleared everything off the board, and now Clyde just has to cycle, and there it is. He closes it out.
What a come from behind victory. Uzumaki's got to be sitting there asking what happened. I had 1,700 health on my tower with a minute to go, and I somehow lost 2 towers in the next minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Lumberjack was MVP right
That
there.
was awesome.
I would think so. I have to wonder if almost the way to look at that deck is the Golem is what opens up the defenses and the Lumberjack is what comes through right at the last minute because Tombstone is played to stop the Golem from getting to the tower. Tombstone also happens to be the card played to stop the Lumberjack from making a straight run to the tower as well. But when the Golem makes it to the Tombstone, it takes down the Tombstone itself, the skeletons pop out, then when the Golem dies, it eliminates all the skeletons on the field, and then the Lumberjack has a straight shot towards the tower. Yeah, and that's what we saw happen. The Mega Minion, he tried to play the bowler in front, Log pushed it away, the Lumberjack got 3 clear swings, and that was enough.
Lumberjack is the man.
That was nuts. I mean, when we first discovered Clyde, the thing that jumped out to us, some people have really good mechanical skills, some people have really good deck building skills. Clyde has all of them, but the thing that he has probably better than anyone else in the game is game vision. He can see how the game is going to go, and it's not over until the clock hits 0. And Clyde was able to say, you know what, I've still got a chance, I'm not giving up, and he is one of maybe 10 players in the game who could pull off a win like that.
Clyde's a
So
mutant.
awesome.
What?
Clyde's a mutant.
He's a
future
mutant.
vision.
He's a freak. He's not normal.
He's
Not normal. Somebody check that man.
Well, I thought we were going to have another 2-0 right there, but Clyde says no, tying it up 1-1. Now, this is the final game between Naruto Uzumaki and Clyde. The winner will be our final semifinalist. Let us know right now in chat who you think it's going to be.
The big question is, what can Clyde do with his alternate deck, the Lava Hound deck, against Giant Bowler, which is an interaction that we've seen once before, but I haven't decided which way this goes. Ryan, do you have any thoughts?
Well, one thing that you could definitely say about Uzumaki's deck is he's packing arrows, and that's going to be very, very good against Clyde's deck with Skeleton Army, Minions, and Minion Horde. But there's only 1 arrows and a whole lot of things to target arrows.
There's the miner popping up just in time, gotta protect the pups and the Minion Horde. No.
Wow.
This is so much damage. That's a tower down for sure, and they're gonna convert onto the King Tower.
Revenge.
This is dangerous. This could be, I think it's gonna do a ton of damage. Oh no,
And here's the
finally.
thing, Uzumaki, okay, so he used arrows early on against the Skeleton Army and got immediately punished for it by the Minion Horde. Arrows is now out of his hand, and Clyde has 10 elixir again with a 6 elixir advantage. He's got to figure out a way to put another thing on the board that Uzumaki wants to arrows, because he knows he doesn't have it.
Here it comes. Lava Hound plus Ice Golem as a double tank combo. And so this is actually even more intricate than Miner Lava Hound because he has that Ice Golem set up right from the start to kind of take over the tanking duties. But if he feels like he needs to add in the Miner on top, he has that option as well. Here comes the Lava Pups, lightning coordinated with the Pup Pop. And now the Pups push onto the tower itself, and that Ice Golem did such a great job tanking.
You know, the big liability in Uzumaki's deck, and something that I think Clyde has built to take advantage of, there's very few things in Uzumaki's deck, or in Clyde's deck, I'm sorry, that you would log. There's really only the Skeleton Army, so you might see the log here. I guess he already used it. But for the most part, he has to use the arrows. Everything that you want to hit needs an arrows, and there's only 1 in the deck to deal with it.
And that says to me that if you, oh no, the Minion Horde is going to do so much damage to both the Bowler and the Giant. Here comes that log that's not going to do anything to the Minions. There's a big arrow opportunity, but where is it? It's actually not even in cycle apparently because those Minions did so much damage to that push. That was a Giant, that was a Bowler, that was a Mega Minion, all stopped by just Minion Horde and Minion.
Now, why even use arrows then instead of log? I mean, you think that log would probably be the better choice right there if at all possible.
He had just used it. I think it was
and I think what Uzumaki's showing here is a failure. It's like a resource management failure. You know that he's got Skeleton Army. Don't arrow the Skeleton Army. You gotta log. You gotta hold the right cards for the right situation. Sure. Clyde, an incredible comeback.
Wow.
Lost game 1, looked to be completely out in game 2, and how much can change in a period of 5 minutes?
It looks like Naruto's going to have 3 crowns.
Cannot believe.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the first game that Naruto played looked very dominating. Naruto, I think, made a lot of great decisions, outplayed Clyde very much in the first game and earned Naruto the first win. Second game, third game, all of a sudden Clyde came alive, and you know what? That's very reminiscent of the Season 1 championships of the Super Magical Cup. Clyde was a comeback kid. 1 game down, 2 games back.
That's so cool.
Maybe this is his run. Maybe it's his day.
If there's any player who's not out till they're out, it's Clyde. I mean,
Clyde.
you're right. He won the Season 1 championship, losing the first game of every single match,
And then coming back.
including some situations where he was down to only 37 health on his tower in overtime, and managed to pull those games out for the win.
Okay, I'm rooting for him tonight. If this is the statistic.
Yeah.
Uzumaki, second top 8, doing real good, but today's not your day.
Doing
Sorry.
really good. Still doing fantastic to make it here.
Yes.
But Clyde is moving on to be one of our final semifinalists. Our replays are ready. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Let's watch just the clutch on this lumberjack.
Really, this is what I was talking about, right? You have the tombstone. When the golem dies, it'll actually pop and get rid of any chumpy unit. And then you see right here at the end, there's the lumberjack pop from downtown. Log will push the bowler away, and that, you know what, gives the lumberjack the opportunity to push past, get to the tower, make it overtime. And that's really what we're talking about when we say chumpy units are really, really strong in this game. And if you have a way to clear them out, it changes the field.
The key thing in this second replay is that Arrows was already out of hand for a skeleton army, and he's sitting there looking, probably holding a handful of logs, and going, "Oh, there's nothing to log right
to
now.
log."
Everything's in the sky."
Electric
And
Jack.
Tower goes down and almost gets 3 crowned.
Yeah, I mean, look at the spillover damage right there. That's just how dominating he took down that tower.
Even a fatal mistake there. He logged the miner. Why?
Well, I was
Who cares,
I was going
right?
to bring
Like,
that up in the beginning. Like, he throws this log out, try to knock him off, and it seemed like that wasn't going to do much for you.
A key difference there in Uzumaki, a multiple-time top 8er, so clearly a very skilled player, but the difference between a very skilled player and an unbelievably clutch player is to don't go on tilt, don't throw your cards away. In that situation, hold that log for the skeleton army that you've already seen, because what happened right away is the skeleton army came down, has to arrow it, and then comes the minion horde again.
Yeah.
He was falling for the
Yep.
same trap of Clyde's over and over again.
Okay, well let's take a look at that brickety bracket.
Brickety bracket.
See who's moving on to our semi-finals here.
Man, look at that lineup.
Killer Whale, Trainer Garrett, Boom, and Clyde. These are our semifinalists. Rumham, Rainey, right now, before we go to a quick break, who do you guys think is going to go all the way?
I mean, you already called it Clyde's night.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, if Clyde is making decisions and playing like that, he is definitely one of the, I would say, one of the favorites to make it all the way to the top. That's not to say, it's one scenario, right? And I think since the Season 1 championships for the Super Magical Cup, the community has come a long way in terms of competitive play. So who knows? Things change and players are getting better. And Boom is no pushover himself. And even on the other side, you still have to face Killer Whale. You still have to face, everybody here is already really strong. So I think it's going to be really close. I think seeing a comeback makes me want to believe that Clyde is the player to
I would
pick.
think the comeback all day.
If you're not sure, I'd love to see what the crowd thinks about this. We've got a Royal Giant Expo player in each match. So it's either going to be like Royal Giant Expo versus Golem, Royal Giant Expo versus Golem. Which card do you like better? And if you can write a haiku about it,
Yes, all the haikus.
send it in.
Then we'll read 'em.
Hashtag.
/NA open, baby.
That's right, when we come,
575.
syllables.
It's only 2 syllables for Golem.
Golem, dude, you can say it.
You got
Royal Giant.
3 times.
15 more syllables.
Yeah, all right, guys. Well, again, that is what's going to be happening after the break. So send us your haikus. Let us know who you want to read them. After the break, our first match is going to be Killer Whale versus Trainer Garrett. So already get your thoughts going. Who do you think is going to win? Let us know in chat. And we are going to be right back. Don't go anywhere.
These are the rules of the duel. All duels must have appropriately epic music. Clash Royale! Bigger fights with everyone! Clash Royale! It's got lightning and skeletons. Duel players in real time. Destroy towers in real time.
When your troops take a stand, now you've got the upper hand. Destroy the king in the ground and clash.
That was a rule of the duel, a most ridiculous duel. Clash Royale. These are the rules of the duel. Anything goes in the arena, and Anything goes inside the goblin hunt. Anything. A most ridiculous duel. Clash Royale. These are the rules of the duel. The grass in the arena must be properly cut. It's a full-time job. That was the rule of the duel. A most ridiculous duel. Clash Royale. These are the rules of the duel. The winner takes the loser's trophies. And their dignity. That was a rule of the duel. A most ridiculous duel. Clash Royale.
Welcome back, Clashers and Clashouts, to the official Supercell Clash Royale North American Open.
That is right. Thank you guys for joining us here on Coronation Day number 5. We are into the semifinals. And before we get into that, a quick reminder of kind of what this is. These players, all for the next 4 weeks, over 500,000 of you guys are going through our open qualifiers to get to Coronation Days like this, where 16 people will move on to the arena battles. From there, 8 will go to the crown duels, where 1 winner will take home $15,000. We broadcast every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. For the Sunday, Monday, and Wednesdays, it's 6 p.m. Thursdays, it is 8 p.m. And again, every single broadcast, there is a new winner. You guys have a chance at home of being a part of this. We still have, let's see, this is 5th. 11 more to go. 11
Yeah.
more after this one. 11 more
It's gonna
chances
really
for you
be
guys to
you.
make
You
it
could
in.
be next.
Yeah, 11. You got great odds. It's way better than even winning the casino. Not winning the casino, winning the lottery.
Winning the whole casino.
Win the whole casino with this one. So that is what the guys are playing for. Before we get into that, let's pull up a quick. Before we do the bracket, we have a haiku that you guys have submitted to us.
A haiku.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm so
Ellie,
ready.
you got
for the
something?
haiku.
Okay, yeah, I got a good one. Today our haiku is from It's Scar. A cool, unique card burns bright and ignites its foes. Inferno Dragon.
Oh,
Wow, that's
Well
perfect.
done,
Inferno
Dragon.
Dragon. That's perfect.
well done. It's
That
Scar.
that is actually the best haiku we've
Yeah.
received
Yeah, it's
from an
like-
artistic standpoint, without a doubt.
Thank
That
you,
is,
It's Scar.
that
Thank
one
you.
was actually great. The other ones, yeah, well, not to knock on you guys, maybe try again if you want to prove me wrong. But the other ones were funny
Maybe
because
be
they were bad.
better.
Yeah, get good, guys. No, but seriously, a lot of
This
them
one was
have been
great.
kind of trolly. That was art.
That was
Yeah.
art.
Art.
Like it just the setup, the build, the climax, and then boom, Inferno Dragon. We know what
did
we're
it.
talking about. Let's go ahead and now pull up the bracket, guys, for the semifinals. We have top 4 players today: Killer Whale versus Trainer Garrett, and Boom versus Clyde. Now, before the break, you guys saw Clyde have an amazing comeback against Naruto Uzumaki there, coming back 1 game away from losing, wins 2. So he was kind of the hype man going into this one. But before we talk about that, which is going to be after our first semifinal battle, Killer Whale versus Trainer Garrett. Rainey, walk me through kind of start of the day, what we saw. Killer Whale, or Trainer Garrett, Killer Whale 2-0, Trainer Garrett 2-1. So both pretty.
Yeah, I think both of them are obviously at this stage, it doesn't matter if you lose, right? I mean, in the end, winning is what's important. And really, sometimes you can 2-0 and not really, it doesn't tell you how close the actual individual game is. But I think what's important to know here is looking at the decks, really. So Killer Whale is going to bring an Expo deck as well as his Royal Giant Lightning deck that has become, by the way, incredibly popular. ESWC just happened recently, in Paris. Actually, the winner, Ming, who was also the winner, apparently, of the Shanghai tournament, used a deck very similar to that one, if not the same. Rumham, do you remember?
It was definitely a Royal Giant deck to win in the finals. I think what's going to be key in this matchup between Killer Whale and Trainer Garrett is that Killer Whale has a Royal Giant deck, and what you need to do is to get that Royal Giant out of the match early, because what you don't want to be is, if you're Trainer Garrett, needing to go into a crucial game 3 and winning with your Expo deck against the Royal Giant deck. That is one of the hardest matches to turn around and win.
So I think almost the key matchup here is who can actually squeeze out a win with the Expo deck first, right? Because once you make sure that your Expo deck is in the clear, you actually have a good matchup
Big
for your
weight
alternate deck. Yeah, because you have big body.
So who do you think right now, going into our first semifinal battle right now, who do you think it's going to be? Rumham, your thoughts?
Ooh, it's going to be, I don't know. We're already seeing a Royal Giant on the board for game 1. I don't know. I'm going to go with Trainer Garrett. I like anyone with Trainer in their name.
Okay.
And I'm too much of a fan of Golem to not to root against it. It's the biggest, toughest tank in the game. I'm a big, tough tank. Got a little tanky, got a little Golem belly going on here.
I think it's like rock hard abs, like I'm a tough tank.
Yes. Let's pretend.
Well, nobody
that's
knows.
it.
I mean, you have to come to the studios and actually punch Rumham yourself to know how hard those abs are.
Yeah.
Don't encourage.
They're rock hard like golems.
So if you, like you said,
Golem
you're going to want to get your Expo deck, or no, the Royal Giant deck, kind of out of the way first. So if you're, let's say, Killer Whale right now, which deck are you going to bring first? You know what your opponent's playing. You know what the strengths and weaknesses are. Again, these are the top players right now in Clash Royale. So what is the deck you're going to bring
I would
first?
100% say play the Expo first, because that's the one that you need to make sure you have the most chances to win on. Start with it. Give yourself the opportunity to have the chance at facing an Expo mirror, because even if you're gonna have to play the matchup eventually, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so you want to make sure that you get your Expo deck out of the way. Give yourself the most
opportunity.
opportunity.
You're not going to win with it at all.
Yeah, I agree with that strategically. I think actually, Free Willy, Killer Whale, FW, right?
FW.
He's gonna want he wants the Royal Giant deck to be his second deck, because it's got a good matchup against Golem. It's got a good matchup against Expo. You're right. Win with the Expo deck, get it off the board, and you have a really favorable matchup no matter what your opponent brings the rest of the match. Other key cards to think about are, well, we got Lightning. Actually, lightning in the Golem deck, lightning in the Royal Giant deck. There's a lot of Furnaces and Inferno Towers, so some really good lightning targets, and we've seen how critical that game can be.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there was a little error getting into the next match, so just stay tight, hold tight,
Yeah,
stick with us.
we're letting the players reset. Again, we want to give these guys the best chance to be able to play against each other, so we don't want any sort of one-sidedness. So they're the players resetting. We're going to get into the game very, very shortly.
One thing, though, that we talked about a little bit, Rainey mentioned it slightly during the decks, but I'd really like to dig in deep, is at the end of the last Coronation Day, we talked about how tournaments like this set the meta.
Yeah.
This is where the top players
Meta
are
setters.
really innovating. They're trying to outsmart each other. We saw in the very first tournament, two Expo decks, a final of 4 Expo decks, right?
Yeah.
And the last winner, our most recent winner, is double Royal Giant. So in only 4 events, the pendulum has
Already
swung
swung.
to the other side.
Yeah.
Today at the ESWC, the World Championships in Paris, we had a whole variety of decks. The final player was an Expo from a player named Surgical Goblin, a very strong player out of Denmark.
Hammers Esports, by the way.
Another Hammers Esports player,
Man,
you're right.
they're taking over
Killing
the
it.
world.
Very, very good. Went up against Ming, who, as Rainey mentioned, the Shanghai tournament was one of the largest live events over the summer back in, I believe, July. Ming, the winner of that, brought a Royal Giant deck in the key game
Meta setters.
5 and ended up winning. And I can't help but think maybe he got the idea from watching the Coronation.
They're watching the Clash Royale North American Open. You're welcome.
Just maybe.
You're welcome, Ming.
I think that, you know, it's interesting because I think the community talks about it a lot, and really I feel like the quicker the competitive community realizes that, hey, you know what, if you're gonna try to bully us by bringing Expo decks all over the place, we're just gonna keep playing counters to Expo decks until you're sick of playing Siege, and then we'll see what happens. And this is how
deal with it.
As one of the previous haikus we read mentions, this is how the cycle goes on, right? You
Jack.
yourself can make a difference. You can make a difference. Don't go along with the meta. Defeat it. Challenge it.
Whoa.
Rise up to the challenge.
Ella, pop quiz. We're going into game right now. You've seen now 4.5 Coronations of some
Yes.
high-quality Clash Royale play. When you hit Arena 8, when you hit Frozen Peak, and you have all the cards available to you, what are you gonna build?
Oh man. I think I'm gonna definitely throw some Lumberjack in there because he impressed me today. It's those guys who really stand out from the crowd, you know?
All men with beards, respectable.
And
Every
Yes,
single
all
one.
of the
course
cards
you
I
would
will
be-
never be a respectful
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
'Cause I can't.
Me too. Don't worry,
okay.
Christian.
That's why
okay.
we're on the same couch. Woo.
Yeah, that's why we're on the same couch.
On the bonus side, you have hair on top of your head.
It just shifts.
A different place to have it, for sure. So here comes the Golem down the right side, and it didn't pull towards the furnace because the furnace was placed 1 tile over to the left, and that means just out of range for the Golem's sight.
Was that a mistake? Was that on purpose?
Well, I think he played the furnace before the Golem came down, so at the very start of the game when they're both going up to 10, Free Willy goes ahead and
Garrett chooses
drops
where it wants to go.
furnace going left, yeah. Oh, I think that Royal Giant can reach all the way there. That is the
Oh, look at that.
danger.
Wow.
Royal Giant must be a great guy. Look at his beard.
Yeah, respect.
And he has hair on top of his head.
He's got a crown,
all,
little crown too, because that's the king.
all this time we've been casting together on him, I thought you were wearing a bald wig. I didn't know you were actually bald.
When we first started casting, I think I had hair. That's how long ago it was. True story.
What casting Clash does.
Then you
Although-
came one day and you were bald. I was like, that's a
Dresses
wig.
of Clash
And this is the new
Royale.
person, yeah. Hey, shout out, by the way, to Supercell for providing us a high-definition tournament client to watch these games. This is so high definition, I can actually see things I haven't seen
I know,
before.
it's amazing.
Like the crown on the Royal
Yeah.
Giant's
It's
head.
so great.
Beautiful.
Okay, so we've got Golem. Oh, wow. I love these little cheap troops that are so great at backing up.
Oh, Archer doesn't
Golem.
get taken down by arrows. Look at it. It's still walking strong. Which health
barely
point
out of
matters the most? Oh, get lightning.
Yeah, ooh, you.
Bad fate. Maybe would have rather died to the log. Actually, those both sound pretty brutal. Lightning strikes are long.
Underrated part of the Golem is that the explosion damage, whenever a Golem or Golemite dies, there's a little bit of an explosion happening. That explosion did about half of the damage that the Golem actually did to the tower. It did really as much as the Golemites did with their normal attacks.
Yeah, and that's really big. It makes it to the tower. Big lightning, gonna get it a swing, and here comes the death damage. Oh my god.
Wow. Trainer Garrett takes it down. Uses a furnace on the other side. I think Killer Whale knows this game is over, and it's just we're gonna sit this one out for the next 15 seconds. Or no, he's actually gonna go try and tie it up.
Whoa.
I
Okay.
do feel like Trainer Garrett, if he can defend this push, will have a rock solid hold on this match. Big Lightning going to take down the Furnace. And Royal Giant gets a shot off, but with 3 seconds remaining, he really needed that Royal Giant to survive with much more health.
Well, there we go. Killer Whale picking up the first victory. Oh, sorry, Trainer Garrett picking up the first victory again's Killer Whale there. One step closer to the finals.
So what's interesting is that neither... Man, she's played this game too much already. I can't.
Yeah, you're becoming a meme lord like the rest of us.
When I first met her, she was so nice, and now she's just... When I see her down the hallway, she goes, her, and I go, oh no.
Video games, the devil's temptation. Moving on to game 2. Well, here's the thing. Trainer Garrett's Golem deck, out of the match.
Yeah.
They both play their big body decks.
You're right, and I think that it was probably incorrect of Killer Whale to start off with his Royal Giant deck, but he's gonna get the benefit for it now because it's gonna be Royal Giant or Expo against Trainer Garrett's Expo deck. I think the best thing Garrett could hope for is the Expo deck because you're more likely to win an Expo mirror than you are to win against Royal Giant with Expo.
Okay. So we saw Golem in that match, or in that game. What are the best cheap troops to back up a Golem?
Well, you can see Trainer Garrett's packing archers, guards, Mega Minion. All of them have something in common. They cost 3. Real hard to find effective troops for less than 3 elixir, and that allowed him to get not just the Golem out, but quickly support it with a variety of different stuff. Mega Minion flies, kind of tough. Archers, ranged attackers. Guards take a lot of hits to get them off the board. There are 3 very different sort of supporting troops that necessitate, and whatever. Let's not try hard words.
No.
Simple. Very different responses. You saw Killer Whale respond well with logging the shields off of the guards and then arrowing it all, trying to clean it up, but it's tough.
Get
It's tough.
some variety in there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, Trainer Garrett one more game away from moving on to the finals. One step closer to $2,000. Let's see what Killer Whale can do to stop that.
Very good response to the Expo. Drops the Furnace to make sure that there will always be a health pool in front of the tower to stop that Expo from locking on and doing big damage.
And it looks like Trainer Garrett won the coin flip in the sense that he started with an Expo, and there is no Royal Giant to be found in Killer Whale's deck, so this first Expo is going to be deadly.
Oh no, he
Too
played the Royal
late.
Giant a little bit too late, but still, Expo's doing 0 damage to the Royal Giant, and now you have to deal with a big Royal Giant walking across the river.
Trainer Garrett just has to stop this and then immediately drop another Expo, and there is not going to be a Royal Giant in Killer Whale's hand to stop it.
That ice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Good
interesting.
call out, man.
Needs to play the Furnace now. No! Uh-oh.
Oh, good lightning, but still going to eat a bunch of damage from that pretty high health Expo.
He locked?
Yeah, needs to lower the health on it to,
Yeah.
to make sure it doesn't do a lot of damage.
You can think about that as spending 2 elixir to prevent about 500 on you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like he does a little bit of chip damage on the opponent's
let me-
tower, but more importantly is getting that Expo off the board.
Let me change my tone real quick then. He logs it. Nice.
Nice, yeah, oh yeah. Intent is a tone is everything.
That's right. That is right.
I like splitting the archers there, but I think he might have rather had them both on the same side. But
Oh, interesting.
Royal Giant's pretty good at taking.
Commits the Royal Giant again without seeing the Expo. And really, this was Killer Whale's opportunity to make a decision, right? To ensure that he rearranges his card cycle to know that he has the options against the cards that are going to be dropped.
Why not another Expo? Like right now.
Oh,
So here's,
It's like you can predict the future.
I definitely cannot. But I think what's going on here is that Killer Whale has opted to go with the lightning strategy. He's not going to use Royal Giant to counter. He's going to use lightning. I don't think that's great. Like I think he should be better off just putting furnaces down. I wonder if either Killer Whale is not that experienced of a Royal Giant player playing it, sort of picking it up in the last few days, or if he just knows something that we don't know about this matchup.
It's interesting because both cards are flip-flopped, right? You would rather have the Lightning to take down the Inferno Tower and the Royal Giant to take down the Expo, but instead, he's playing the Royal Giant into the Inferno Tower and trying to get away with using Ice Spirit and whatnot, and then playing the Lightning on the Expo, whereas you would really, really, really prefer it to be flipped around.
By putting the Expo on the far right side, that means it's not in lightning range of at least the vulnerable tower, and it allows it to keep shooting without making the tower subject to anything that could hurt it real bad. I'd expect another Inferno Tower to come down pretty soon here, as soon as that Royal Giant crosses the river.
Yeah, there is the Expo, and I think that tower is definitely in Fireball log range, and that's really going to be Trainer Garrett's win condition here.
Wow.
Ice Golem is going to hold up the Mega Minion for just long enough, and sure enough, Trainer Garrett going to roll his way to victory.
There
And
it is.
think
a
about
2-0.
that, because at the end of the last Coronation Day, one of the last things that we said before signing off was, you can absolutely lose to Expo with a Royal Giant deck if you sequence your cards in the wrong way. And I feel like Killer Whale was trying to get away with the lightning and the log, but that's 8 elixir to stop a 6 elixir Expo. I don't think that he should have been that aggressive with the Royal Giant. Royal Giant's not that great on offense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really think that one of the things that Killer Whale had to do at that point is play the long game, right? Don't try to win it 1-0, because at the very least, Trainer Garrett's gonna probably be able to just spell cycle you down, right? Look to trade, spend health on your tower early on in the match when you know that overtime is a long time away. Spend health on your tower, reorganize your card cycle, make sure you have the game well set up for success, take down the tower, be okay with the fact that Trainer Garrett could take down the second tower, and then just keep playing the game out in one-to-one situations. You have a Royal Giant.
It did seem though that like Killer Whale was starting to get it, because at the end he was starting to play his Royal Giants a lot for the back, but just a little too late there. And Trainer Garrett will be moving on. Let's go ahead and take a look at a replay now from one of our games between these semi-finalists here. Rainey, walk me through what's going on here.
Well, Trainer Garrett pretty much walked through this match 2-0, and really it came down to just very good decision making on pushing the Golem through, using lightning at key moments, playing good supporting troops and in good positions that they wouldn't all just get taken down by spells and whatnot. And I really think that Trainer Garrett just made good decisions and was able to win for it.
I really love that bold Expo right there prior to the Royal Giant coming down. He just knew that there's no way his opponent's going to have another Royal Giant in hand, and to keep the pressure, control the pace of the game, make sure your opponent's always reacting to your Expo instead of able to put together an offensive push of their own.
Love it.
Okay,
Well,
let's take a look.
Good
Oh,
one, by the way,
first.
Killer Whale. You made another top 8, very impressive. Ella, will you do the honors?
Our fire is getting a little low back
Oh,
here.
yeah, it's getting
Guys,
cold in here. So
a real
a little
fireplace.
chilly. It's been rainy today.
Legitimate fireplace.
And
Can we have some After Effects? Just like, there's an explosion going on there. Let's go ahead and pull up the bracket right now, as we do have now our first finalist of Coronation Day number 5. It is Trainer Garrett. So the Killer Whale is out. So up next, we have Boom versus Clyde. Now, I can see, Rumham, there's already going to be some sort of tension, because we talked about how awesome Clyde did with that comeback here, but then you do love saying people's names that are cool.
Boom.
You do love
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, no, I do. I do like saying names like that. Here's the thing, though. Boom has a good matchup and an awful matchup.
Okay.
He's got Expo against Lava Hound. Real good there. Royal Giant, not so good against a Lava Hound
Usually.
Lightning deck. I would,
Right.
yeah, and of course, any of these good players can outplay that, but depending on how these decks bump into each other could really determine the matchup. I think game 1 might set up game 3, depending on which decks are knocked out of the match early.
All right, well,
Okay.
let's go ahead and go into our next match, which is, again, Boom versus Clyde. Let's pull up the decks between both of these players so we can take a look at it. And Rainey, are you for Clyde? Are you for Boom?
that's a tough
You
one.
got to pick one right.
That's a tough
5,
one. If I were to pick one, all right,
2.
it's gonna be Clyde.
There we go. He's
I
the
had
player
to go
to
with the
watch.
flag.
Yeah, he's the player to watch.
I had to go with the flag.
Flag doesn't lie.
I think that, yeah, I think that the deck matchups are going to be incredibly interesting. I think Boom making it here, especially with an Expo deck with Rocket, is going to be an added X factor that we don't really know how to consider. And the fact that he's running the super quick cycle of 1/1/2s, right? He's got Skeleton, Ice Spirit, he's got Log, Fire Spirit, right? So he is incredibly cheap. And if there is any Expo deck that can survive in this territory, it's the fast cycling ones, I would say. So we'll see. We'll see. Clyde, you know, yeah, I don't know. I think Rumham hit the nail on the head. I don't think there's any more that needs to be said about that.
Yeah, it's really tough to pick a winner. I think what Boom needs to do is, if he can find a way to win with his Royal Giant deck early, or I'm sorry, the Expo deck early, the Royal Giant deck might be able to close it out simply because both of Clyde's deck have really expensive tanks that give openings to the Royal Giant. However, I'm not exactly sure how Boom is going to stop from being 3-crowned by some of these decks.
Well, so how's Clyde's Lumberjack going to kind of fit against what Boom's got?
Lumberjack is great at chopping away things like Royal Giant. I mean, it does. It's not as good as the Mini P.E.K.K.A.
Okay.
But it's still very, very good, right? So the Mini P.E.K.K.A. does, in order of kind of damage that you can output, it's going to be Mini P.E.K.K.A is on top.
Okay.
Then it's Lumberjack. Then I think the next
Oh, wow.
closest really equivalent is Mega Minion.
Why do you think that he played Lumberjack over Mini P.E.K.K.A, given that there's not a ton of great rage targets? I mean, it's just really the Archers, Golemites, Mega Minion. But Mini P.E.K.K.A, you know, more health, more damage.
I actually think that the Lumberjack probably is the choice to go for because it runs quicker and it attacks faster. So against troops that the Mini P.E.K.K.A would normally one-shot, like Chumpy troops, the Lumberjack would also do the same, but because it has more frequency of attacks, it's actually a little more effective in those scenarios.
Boom, not happy about that.
As much as I love saying boom, I think you like saying chumpy. Chumpy is one of Rainey's keywords.
Chumpy Chump. Because Chumpy is really the way to describe. I mean, look at these fire spirits. They're so chumpy.
Real
chumps.
Chumpy
You'd
Chump.
make a great, like, mafia lord. Bunch of chumps coming at me.
Expo on one side, Golem on the other.
wow.
That is not good.
Hey, you know, classically, in the second Coronation, Clyde was absolutely decimated by Expo just because he made greedy/careless mistakes in terms of not respecting the Expo drop. And we see that here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, the Expo deck is just looking for an opening for you to put Elixir on the board, and there's pretty much nothing you could. Right, like, here's the thing though, if that Golem was played in the middle instead of behind, it could have made the same push for the most part and soaked all the damage. The downside there, as we saw, he just barely had enough Elixir for the Lightning, so if that Golem was played further up, that Inferno Tower could have been more deadly than it already was.
It's okay though, Rainey. He literally has to lose this first game.
Oh,
to
that's
continue
right.
his
Oh, that's
streak.
That
Clyde's
is
just
the,
going along with his motto. Lose one, win two.
Well, the last time I guessed that was a strategy for Marcel P, he lost, so.
I'm also wondering why the Furnace is behind the. I mean, I guess now with one tower down, you put it behind the King Tower for safekeeping, but Clyde should probably never commit a Golem to the board until
Well, he knows the Expo is out.
until there's a Furnace already up in the middle. The Furnace in the middle provides both a building to absorb shots, but then also the Fire Spirits that, you know, get in the way.
So
Clyde's saying thanks. I think he actually likes that center place deck, but I think that helps him.
we'll have to look at how the Lightning is going to impact this push. Oh, man.
Wow.
So tough. You got 40 seconds left, and even if you take down a tower, your second tower is at 715 health. There's a Rage Golem. Look at it go. It's so quick.
Go, Golem, go.
So ragey.
Oh, no.
Oh,
a
two.
second Golem being added on. But really, the conversation is, even if Clyde does take down this tower, he's going to go 1-to-1 against a Rocket deck with a tower that's 611 health.
Yeah, the Rocket player is I think he only needs to Rocket and log. No, it's going to be just outside of Rocket.
the
and log
Lumberjack,
range.
the Dream
Lumberjack
Jack.
again!
Oh, no
Two,
way. No way it's happening.
Oh, the Lumberjack every single time. But yeah, I think the Dream is dead. I feel like the Dream, well, I don't know. I've said many things and I've been wrong about many things, so we'll see.
I think you're right, though, simply because the Golem is so slow, there's no way that a tower goes down prior to the Rocket comes back up. Golem is just too slow of a card. I don't think it's going to kill it, though.
It's not. He has to get one more spell. And I would hate to eat my words now, but I just don't see it.
Lumberjack.
I like to believe in Lumberjack. He's going to do some threatening damage, but there you go.
that's it.
Log for the win.
Log rolling in. Boom is going to take game one of the semifinals against Clyde. He is
Boom.
one step closer to that $2,000, that first place, that chance to move on. That was, again, Lumberjack at the end.
Wow.
Considerable damage.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
loving the
a
Lumberjack.
fast guy. You know, the Lumberjack and I haven't actually put them side by side, but it definitely feels like he's much faster than the Mini P.E.K.K.A.
He's a track star
Yeah.
because Mini P.E.K.K.A is fast. Lumberjack very fast. You know what else is very fast? Hog Rider. That means Lumberjack runs with the speed of a wild hog.
Wow.
With a man on top.
Yeah, and again, lore-wise, he created the log, which is super. We had to thank him for that. 'Cause
That's
it's
true,
like the
because-
most played card right now in the
Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Well, thanks.
Although it
Lumberjack.
was kind of a Frankenstein's monster, I don't think he meant to create the log, and look at the
just-
havoc it's
he
wreaking
just
on Clash
spilled
Royale.
the rage.
Here's the thing.
Craziness.
Sometimes mortal enemies are more alike than they'd like to admit.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Expo and Royal Giant, enemies, right?
Sure.
Mortal enemies.
Mortal
However,
enemies.
Boom's other deck is a Royal Giant deck. In a lot of ways, they're kind of the same card. 6 Elixir, meant to target buildings, and if they're not immediately defended, they're going to lock onto a tower and do a lot of damage. For all the ways that we saw Clyde kind of fall victim to an Expo, that could happen again, because if you put a Golem real far behind, Royal Giant comes in, locks on that tower.
Got it.
So so we know if an Expo is left alone, it'll take out a tower very quickly. If a Royal Giant is left alone, he also will he take it out before he dies? If he's totally uncontested.
If nothing else happens, the Royal Giant is tanky enough that it can just shoot the tower down.
Okay, so he will take it down.
I think he might take the whole thing down. I think Expo takes it down with more health remaining,
Yes.
if for all that's worth. But Royal Giant is both defenseless, stands in front of the tower, and kind of fragile. If he gets a full attack on a tower, that's probably because you disconnected.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
All right, well, here we go. Boom, 1 game away from the finals. One of these 2 players will be joining Trainer Garrett.
The dream, Pekka. The dream is dead.
You know, whichever of these players make the finals, I'm going to be happy, because it's either going to be Lumberjack or Mini Pekka representing and trying to work for a Coronation Day victory. And both of them are such satisfying cards to watch.
Wow, that minion horde converted from one side of the map to the other. That's called value.
Yeah, that's they're explorers. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is a log going to come down on Boom's side? No, a Zap takes them out.
Well-timed Zap. Got every single skeleton there.
He does not have Log in this deck. Log and Zap are some of the alternate cards that he had to choose between when you make 2 decks that are 4 cards different.
There it is. Tries to, but that's not the Golem. That's the Ice Golem. That's only a 2 elixir drop, so Big Lightning is going to help the minion survive, the lone minion, and take down that Royal Giant. Question is, can Clyde actually build enough elixir to make this Ice Golem meaningful, or does he even want to? He might skip the cycle and just prep for a Lava Hound drop.
He's got a ton of, I think what he's going to have to want to defend with is the minion horde and the minions, because Boom has Zap and Fireball, so you're really going to not necessarily want to defend with something like, something like Skeleton Army that can get zapped away. You're going to want to defend with something like minions that can survive.
Tried to play the miner in that center position, not on the tower, because he was trying to stop any supporting troops, like splash troops, from killing his minion horde and skeleton, but that was not in the cards for Boom. He just went for the spell. Ended up mitigating most of that damage. A good attempt from Clyde, but still concerning because Clyde is at 1830 and there's no defensive structure as far as I know in Clyde's Lava Hound deck. And now has to deal with a Lava Hound drop right when he, or rather a Royal Giant drop right when he popped his Lava Hound.
The Ice Golem was there to distract the Mega Minion to prevent it from blocking too far ahead onto the tower. Now here's the thing, zaps off the board, has to fireball it. Oh no!
Inferno Tower.
Inferno Tower locks on. I like the Lava Hound going in the same direction as the Royal Giant, as the weakened tower, because it allowed any of those defensive troops to go back up the Lava Hound. But you can see Boom using all of his spells to keep those troops off the board.
Oh no, here comes the Skeleton Army, gets taken down by Zap.
Which one? They're gone.
Nope.
Yeah, they didn't exist for a long
Bye.
time, and this is a big counter push coming across for Boom, and this might actually take the tower down, and I think the dream might end here for Clyde. 399 health. He actually manages to push that Royal Giant off the table before his tower gets put into instant death range from the fireball, but you still have to wonder, is there a way that he can even play his Lava Hound and not take 170 damage?
And that's the downside of Clyde playing 2 big tanky decks, is he doesn't have a lot of all-in maneuvers. There's not a lot of things that Clyde can do here when he thinks his opponent doesn't have anything.
There's a cycle
Just like
that. Boom. Going up 2-0 against Clyde. Clyde could not be the comeback king today. Boom! Moving on to join Trainer Garrett in our finals. Congratulations to him.
Boom.
Boom!
Both of our semifinalists, though, Clyde and Killer Whale, walking home with $300.
$300
Not
each.
bad.
Bad.
It's a lot of
Not bad
gems.
at all.
That's
That is
true.
a lot of
It's a lot
gems.
of gems.
Right
But
back
Clyde,
into the game. It's right back into the game.
great time. Golem Lava Hound, love the decks, but you're going home for the day. I'm sorry.
Brutal.
That's aggressive. Don't worry, guys. Just let everyone
It's okay,
know.
you'll be back.
We're
I don't support
recycling.
violence,
We're going to
but
recycle
sometimes-
all of these. These all get recycled.
We're saving trees.
Yeah, saving trees one log at a time. We don't want any more log things to happen. All right, let's go and go into the replay here of this last semifinal match. And Rainey, start us off with this first one.
I think Boom played spectacularly in this series, coupled with the fact that the Golem is played at a awkward position, and really just letting that crossbow tag on for that long is deadly. You know, you can't really get away with that. You need to make sure that if that happens, your counter push is certain to push down your opponent's tower as a trade. But this was not the case for Clyde. He was only able to take that down very late into the game using the Lumberjack finally, but really Boom probably felt really comfortable in this match.
And a similar thing, just like we mentioned, the Royal Giant is a lot like an Expo in the
Yeah.
sense that you're waiting for your opponent to drop that Lava Hound in the air, put your 6 Elixir on the board, and just hope to do as much damage as you can. Big killer for Clyde there is he didn't really have any buildings to distract that Royal Giant with. No Tombstone, no Furnace.
It's hard.
It's tough.
It's so hard. Let's take a look at our bracket thus far. See who our finalists are here. What are you guys thinking?
Trainer Garrett compared with Boom. I'm trying to think about each of them. So I believe each of them is the Royal Giant Expo player. Is that correct? Boom is.
Boom is an Expo Royal Giant player, that's correct. Trainer Garrett has Expo and Golem Furnace. The last remaining glowy-eye Golem player in the field.
Yeah, I know Seth really wants Golem to win.
Yeah, so you can play that.
I'm just gonna push back on Seth and say that Boom's gonna win.
Here's the thing, though. If I had to rank my favorite big fatsies in this game, Golem 3, Lava Hound 2, Royal Giant 1.
Yeah,
So how am I? Plus, Boom, he's got his Royal Giant in there. I don't know. Royal Giant wins 2 Coronation days in a row. Could happen.
We might have a new match.
Would not have
Maybe.
guessed that at the start of this whole series. Royal Giant was essentially non-existent 2 weeks ago.
All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, Expos, Boom! I'm gonna play a Royal Giant." Well, again, what these guys are playing for, this is one of our 16 Coronation a days. Open qualifiers,
days.
over 500,000. You guys for the next 4 weeks will be participating in those. Coronation days is what today. Arena battles is what 16 of them will be moving on to. 8 will then move on to the Crown Duels in Gold, where first place takes home $15,000 and a trip to go to Supercell today for the Coronation days. If you make it here, again, these are top players. First place taking home $2,000, second place $500, third and fourth $300, and fifth through eighth took home $100. So these 2 players, one of them's taking home $500, one of them's taking home $2,000, being crowned our champion, the chance to move on. That's right. That's a great point. Going into the finals, it is a best of 5 here. Roman, thanks for that reminder. So they can win with one deck twice. They get to choose which deck they want.
I'm not sure which of these decks really benefit there because both of them are running Expo, but both of them also have an anti-Expo deck.
Ah.
So I think it's going to be whichever player can kind of sneak their win with the Expo and then try to get 2 wins with the alternate deck.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the deck between these players. Just a quick reminder again: Trainer Garrett and Boom. One thing I also want to bring up while we were looking at this, I think it was Backstab did an amazing thing where he won one of his games first, then he decided to win. He switched decks and he won with the other one, so he had it kind of up to him going into the third game which one he wanted to do, which left a lot of mind games open for the
I
opponent.
believe that was Flash.
Was that Flash?
That was Flash and Coronation Day because he had 2 different decks. And he won with one, won with the other,
That's
and
right,
then had
it was up to him.
the mind deck going in.
So, speaking of choosing again which deck is first, because it really can't be decided down to this first game of which deck you guys choose. Who do you think, if you're Boom, which one are you bringing first? Because you, like you said, you have a favorable matchup and you don't have a favorable matchup.
I still think you always want to try to match up your Expo.
Okay.
I think Expo is a kind of deck that has such a big requirement in terms of you need to make sure that if your opponent has something like a big body that can completely shut down your game plan, you want the assurance. You want the assurance that you have at least one win with it, because then that means you can confidently play your other deck twice, right?
I might open with Royal Giant. It's going to have a decent matchup against either deck, and then of course you still have it in your pocket if you need it for later, and then you can try to gauge what your opponent's playing and decide when to get the Expo in. But I agree, it's crazy how Expo went from such a good deck that everyone was running it to kind of a liability when everyone else is
If it
bringing
doesn't go
anti-Expo decks.
Yeah, if it doesn't go right. But one thing that we have been seeing is the Expos, when they play it very aggressively, also very defensively. You know, they're not everyone's just playing at the river now. They're actually, some people are holding it back. So it's cool to see how that meta not only is now being installed, but then being adapted. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, the finals are about to be underway. It is Trainer Garrett versus Boom. Let us know in chat right now who you think is going to be Coronation Day number 5's champion.
Rumham, Rainey, what do you think?
I have a correction to make from earlier, by the way. Boom is no longer in Hammers Esports, has moved to Crucible Wrath. So it's my bad. Here's the thing, Crucible Wrath, another very strong guild. Could they claim their very first Coronation Day title?
Hey.
We've not yet seen a clan get more than 2.
Interesting to note that making it
Plenty
up
of
to the
time
top
left.
8 for Boom has been a very big back and forth. 67% win rate means that he went one loss very commonly moving up to the round of 8. So maybe his decks are just a little bit, I don't know, maybe there's a weak link there.
You're right. Trainer, maybe it just takes him a little while to get comfortable. He's got to feel out what the opponent's playing and kind of learn from that.
Yeah.
Trainer Garrett, though, has very much impressed me. First time in the Coronation Day, has looked like a juggernaut.
Yeah. Look at that trophy count, by the way.
Here we go. We've got Golem versus Royal Giant in game 1. And just like that, Golem comes down, Royal Giant comes out to play.
Takes down the Furnace in one shot. The Archers actually lock onto the Mega Minion, which is exactly what Trainer Garrett wants. And that's actually one of the big things about Royal Giant that's tough to manage. Because it has such a large range, it does not walk in front and provide that tanking body for supporting troops behind it. Inferno Tower, burning away the Golem. Easy. The Archers actually convert and do a ton of damage, and that tower is on the guard.
What?
This Archer is Legolas right here.
Legolas, guys.
Archer is actually an action hero.
Trainer Garrett actually now has a 3 elixir advantage. He's going to leverage that into an almost free Furnace. Still maintaining a little bit of a lead. The problem is, how are you going to play that Golem and not just completely get wrecked by the Royal Giant? By playing it up that far, if the Royal Giant were to come down that same lane, all of the defending troops could then back up the Golem. I think this is a smart lane switch by Boom to perpetually force his opponent to play both lanes at the same time.
I really think that Trainer Garrett, the option to go for was to, okay, Lightning actually supporting the Golem, and this might be a big thing for Trainer Garrett. Even though the Mini P.E.K.K.A. is on the Golem, it's going to split and get the Golemites, and I think the Mega Minion might be killing it in time. The Mini P.E.K.K.A. gets one more swing, but look at that push.
Whoa.
Look at that push. The Golemite is still alive in the back. Mega Minion gets taken down, and that's one big damage source, but guards are not to be laughed at.
Not at all. Trainer Garrett back up to 10 elixir, waiting for this inevitable push. Now watch this Royal Giant magic. He's holding one cannonball, yet he fires it, and he has another cannonball.
Where does it? Wait a minute.
Pretty incredible card.
He's gotten some training by the wizard.
There's not a lot about the Royal Giant that makes sense aesthetically.
No way.
He makes so much sense.
He's got a crown.
He's the best.
Wow.
He has a beard.
You know what's crazy about that? Boom did so much
Damage.
more total damage.
Across both.
But Trainer Garrett only had that one successful push, and that was all he needed.
Yeah.
He was really smart. Well, okay, Boom was trying to switch lanes and kind of perpetually force his opponent to go the other way, but he forgot the key rule. Which hit point matters the most?
It's the last one.
It's the last hit point. He let one tower go to 0 while his other opponent had, took 4,000 total damage? Wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It's all got to be on one tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Splitting can be dangerous in those keys, which is something that if you're playing on the ladders, it really come down to like the deck that you're bringing, because that happens to me. I feel like a lot. Well, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a lot of damage on this side. All right, I have a sweet opening. I'm gonna switch to this side. A lot of damage, but I can't quite finish out the final one.
I think there's a very interesting dynamic to look at here in terms of decks that are quicker to knock a tower down, decks that move fast, and decks that are big and weighty, right? Earlier on in this tournament, we actually saw that Royal Giant could overcome these big decks like Golem, just in the sense where they wait until overtime and they make sure they've coordinated such that they have a ton of elixir to drop, a ton of units to support their Royal Giant, and just take that tower down immediately once the Golem is dropped. But in this situation, I think that the situation wasn't quite as clear, right? I think that the Golem play had been set up such that there would be enough troops pushing across, and with enough time that they could push through and do more just in case, and I think that was a brilliant choice. I think the Royal Giant player could have been more successful focusing more elixir on defense, even giving up a Royal Giant play, holding a Royal Giant play for one and focusing on defense to counteract the last Golem play before overtime, and then all in overtime to ensure that there was no chance for comeback.
Yeah, let me give you an alternative thing he could have done. When that Golem came down in front of the tower, instead of playing Royal Giant on the left side, could have played Royal Giant on the right side. Now, of course, your opponent's going to drop things like archers in front of the tower to shoot the Royal Giant. Just fireball them, right? Just get them off the board there, and that way the Royal Giant and Fireball would have maybe taken that tower down, and even if you lose the tower to the Golem, to your point, you're playing 1-on-1 at that point. It's much better.
All right, well, Trainer Garrett is up 1-0. Again, this is the best of 5 here in the finals. Trainer Garrett has to win 3. Let's see if he's going to switch decks or stay with the 1.
And Trainer Garrett, maybe with the highest trophy count we've seen out of anyone in these Coronation days.
So many.
I mean, that's easily in the top 200 on the
Some of your
leaderboard.
trophies.
Oh,
Yeah, just quit being greedy with trophies.
Oh,
I need some of those.
interestingly enough, I think that Mini P.E.K.K.A. was hurt by the zap. The tower was shooting the Royal Giant, Boom zapped the tower and it retargeted onto the mini P.E.K.K.A. And it wasn't such a happy P.E.K.K.A. anymore.
This is very impressive. Oh, actually, great timing by Garrett to get the Golem down when he knows Royal Giant's not out, but great cycle by Boom. Look at that. Look, Boom's only played 5 cards.
He already got back to it.
Of which 3 of them cost 2 or less. So he was able to really get back there at the critical moment in order to continue the offense.
I actually think the timing suits Trainer Garrett pretty well right now, because if he can build up a big enough push behind that Royal Giant that actually does not contribute to killing any troops of its own, there might be a big counter push coming down the lane for Boom to deal with. But so far his defense seems to be pretty solid. Good positioning on the Inferno Tower.
Downside for Garrett is he used Zap on the Mega Minion, didn't have Zap available for the Inferno Tower that came right after.
The skeleton survived the mini explosions.
Speaking of wet noodle damage,
Yeah.
Golemites.
Yeah. So does the Golem and Golemites do the same death damage, or is the Golem?
No, the Golem does significantly more than Golemites. Golem's explosion will kill goblins, skeletons. The Golemites don't even kill skeletons.
Poor little guys.
But it's added, every little damage bit counts. As you see, Boom's making the same, he's doing the same line of play as before, splitting the damage up, trying to get as much as possible on both damage. I don't think he'll make the same mistake about leaving a tower unfinished, but that's how Trainer Garrett took game 1.
Now, what's the final card in Trainer Garrett's deck?
I should see both of their final cards. Give me 1 second.
Fireball.
Oh, so there's
Fireball.
Fireball
Lightning
for Boom.
for Trainer Garrett.
Fireball for Boom.
You're right.
All right, Royal Giant coming down the same lane, so that probably is going to finish up the tower. With Furnace out of hand, I think that Boom should be able to tag
Nice,
on.
Ice
Ice
Spirit.
Spirit, and a lot of damage to the guards, and it actually does not take the tower down, so that's Elixir that needs to be invested. Not the worst in the world, because a Fireball will actually take down that tower. So,
He's defensively.
It's 24 seconds to get back to that Fireball, too.
and actually, defense for Boom has gone relatively well. Big lightning. This actually could get pretty scary. You need to
Boom's
cycle
got it.
spells, and I think Boom has it.
I believe so. I think Trainer Garrett realized this game's out of range. Again, not a very fast deck. There is no all-in in Trainer Garrett's deck. If he had to go and aggressively take that tower right now, what is he doing? You know, he could, guards plus archers? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
every deck in Clash Royale could stop a push that
Of
week.
that.
But Boom ties it up 1-1.
That's right.
Impressive.
Now, did Garrett switch decks there? Or did he use the same
No,
one?
he played the Golden deck again.
Okay.
So now, with each of their decks having 1 win, we're going into what is essentially a best
best
of
of three
3
now.
starting now.
Yeah.
They have to use each of their decks, win 1 more time with each. Great opening start. They got to feel each other out, kind of see how the decks are going to interact. But now are the elimination rounds. This is the championship rounds
Here
of a fight.
we
The
go.
finals, $2,000 on the line.
So how important is it to cycle with a Royal Giant deck? You saw he got that Giant out there so fast again.
I don't think it's so much that you don't want to cycle it like a Hog Rider. So when you have a Hog Rider deck, you almost always want to be casting Hog Riders to attack. But there's a lot of situations where you cast a Royal Giant and you just get punked out. Like, for example, when the Guards, Archers, and Ice Spirit right there at the end allowed the Royal Giant to only get 1 attack. That's 6 Elixir to do 180 damage. Who cares, right? Like, that's such a bad exchange of Elixir for damage. But the important thing about cycling in a Royal Giant deck is to have the Royal Giant when you need it. And he needed it every time a Golem came down, and that's when he was able to go, oh no, there's the Golem, skeletons, Ice Spirit. I drew my Royal Giant again, put him on the field. Right.
All right, now one thing I want to talk about too, I think this will be the final thing about the updates that are coming out on the first. We've got Rage getting increased, but Ice Spirit, slow going from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Do you think that's going to change how we see it?
I think that the Ice Spirit will still be key in mirror matchups and cards. For example, one big interaction we see is Mega Minion on Mega Minion, and one of the ways that players try to win out that trade is by playing the Ice Spirit. And the fact that it'll just slow down the attack means that the mirror card will always win if it's fighting a frozen card. But other than that, it is interesting. Will it make a Hog Rider get 1 less swing, for example? Those are
Garrett?
questions that I don't know the answer to.
Garrett just started with one of the best opening Elixir trades you could hope for. There was 8 Elixir played in that push for Booms. It was a mini P.E.K.K.A, a Mega Minion, and an Ice Spirit, and it was countered just for 3 Elixir by guards. That's allowing this Golem push to be very scary coming in. It's going to do a good amount of damage here.
Boom also had to spend Ice Spirit and Zap to stop the Archers from doing a huge amount of damage. And that could have changed the push from doing 600 to doing 800 or maybe 1,000.
look at that. So right now, Trainer Garrett finds himself behind by about 3 elixir, but he does have a furnace on the board chipping away at some damage, and of course has a huge damage lead right now. With that building about to expire, and the reason why it was fireballs, get damage on the tower, but also the building's about to go away, so now, what's going to stop this Royal Giant?
Uses a lot of small troops to assist the push as well, right when the Fire Spirits are pushed off the table, and so he gets a pretty good Royal Giant push. But this also opens up the opportunity. Actually, I don't know how fast the cycle is. I would say that Trainer Garrett would have an opportunity to drop a Golem, but I think that Boom has it in hand again.
Boom could probably get back to it with an Ice Spirit, I think. Yep, got him. So here's the problem. Never underestimate little skeletons. And if you notice, those 1 elixir skeletons in the last push did a lot of damage to the guards. They killed up a lot of the chumpy troops around the Royal Giant and prevented the counterattack from being that effective. Trainer Garrett really needs to take some serious damage home with this push because he's not getting very great counterattacks on the Royal Giant.
Make sure the archers are cleared out before he plays the Inferno Tower, but a lightning will actually put a wrench in all of that system. Meanwhile, Mega Minion is actually wrecking havoc, and guards will actually protect the Mega Minion from other drops. There we see the Mega Minion drop on the floor, but is attracted by the Golemites and the guards, and I think this is a tower for Garrett.
It's a reminder of game 1 right there, where it looked like Boom was in control with his Royal Giants, but that Golem push was just too overwhelming.
Interesting choice to drop the Golem. I would expect the Furnace drop would be ideal, and actually does get it.
Get out of here, Royal Giant.
That is just kind of buying time in a way you wouldn't expect. The Golem is pushing the Royal Giant out of the lane, buying a lot of time for extra damage to come down.
Is there going to be a lightning spent on the Inferno Tower? And I don't think that's even really that necessary. Trainer Garrett is just going to weather out the storm and take a second win with the Golem deck.
Bigger, faster, stronger. That is Golem. If you thought Giants were cool, you know what's even cooler? Golems.
There we go. Trainer Garrett picking up his second victory here in our best of 3 for the finals. 1 game away from $2,000 and that ticket to move on.
We're not out of the woods yet, though.
Not even
because
But
close.
that Golem deck's out now.
Golem deck is out, and that leaves an Expo deck. The bane of everyone's existence,
Royal
except
Giant.
for Boom has a Royal Giant and then another Expo deck. I think Boom has to bring his Royal Giant if he wants to go to a game 5.
Yeah.
Sure. Or unless he just wants to out chess. He wants to out chess him. Right
That's a good point, because if you're going to have to win the Expo
Anyway.
Mirror match, and if you win that Expo Mirror match, you go into a critical game 5 with one of the most favorable matchups out there.
Yeah. Yes. Because I think it comes down to how much do you think in this moment right now these players can put each other on tilt? Like, let's say it's like just how much do you think pressure is going to affect these guys?
It depends, right? If you are the player who is two matches up, you might be feeling nervous because you're about to close out the whole thing, right?
Sure.
You start, regurgitating your mother's pasta. You start,
Mom spaghetti?
your hands start getting
Never
sweaty.
thought about that.
Yuck. Thanks for the visual there.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's serious, right? When you're about to win, and this is probably one of the biggest causes for Silver Surfer's existence is, right? They play really well, but they get to the end and they just can't really close it out because they realize that the win is just right there, right? Just one more.
Is that a new term? I call them bridesmaids, and you said Silver Surfers, people
Silver
finish
Surfer.
second?
Yeah,
I like
let's
that.
finish
So here's the
second.
thing, whatever game it is, whether game 4 or 5, the critical game is going to be Boom's Expo versus Trainer Garrett's Expo. Whichever match that happens in will probably determine the match.
All right.
What are you calling?
Come
Come on.
Expo is such a different deck.
Boom has a very different Expo deck than we've seen before. We don't see a lot of them running skeletons, fire spirits. It's a very, very cheap one. It also has rocket. So he can always rocket the enemy Expos if it comes down to it.
I like Rocket just as kind of I don't know what the term is, but just as like a very, very nice little safety net of like, okay, I've worked hard for the whole match, and now we're in areas where I can avoids the Ice Golem, because before we saw a situation where the Ice Golem protected the Expo and actually lost the game for, I think it was, no, it was not.
I love how he has that
Boom?
vibe.
Was it Boom who lost the game for using the rocket on the Ice Golem?
I'm not even sure, but you're right. We've already seen the Ice Golem shield, invulnerability shield, decide a game in this matchup, and Boom does not want that to happen in the finals with $2,000 on the table.
Oh, good timing. Watch, this Mega Minion is actually going to win out this trade because the Ice Spirit is going to help it
Already back
win. Yeah, that's big damage.
Boom's trademark here is that both of his decks are running Skeletons and Ice Spirit. He really likes that cheap cycle to get back to the cards he needs. And on top of that, they both run Zap, or one runs Zap, one runs Log, so a 2-cost spell. And his Expo deck also has Fire Spirit, so all of Boom's decks very, very based on a quick cycle.
I would say that Boom needs to play chumpy troops like the Skeleton or the Ice Spirit or the Fire Spirit in combination with his Rocket on top of Expos to make sure that he doesn't take chipping damage from the remaining little bit of health that the Expo has, because he's not actually making headway on his opponent's tower, even though he is mitigating damage on the Expo.
Trainer Garrett, I mean, super impressive right now. This is the Expo mirror match. This is the game that's going to decide it right now. Boom has not even had a chance to play an Expo.
not
He's
at
just
all.
had to rocket it. And to your point, that trade, it's a 6-for-6, rocket the Expo, but he's eating about 200 damage
It's
on
not
the
even.
chin every time he does it, so it's not as even as you might think it would be.
And, you know, really to put it in context, it gets even more amazing to think about how Ender actually won this matchup with using Rocket and Fire Spirit as a defense. We can already see how complicated it is to set up your line of play. And first Expo from Boom coming out now.
Well, it just takes one.
And I think we're showing how just you can't say enough about Ice Golem in this mirror match. We watched it in the Marcel P. Ender match as well. Just if you ever get a chance to put the Ice Golem in front, it's one of the best things you can use to block an Expo.
Tries to play the Skeletons, but too late. And I think it's that slight difference in execution that's really going to keep Boom in this match. He did play a good Expo for his first Expo dropped, and I think he's going to be able to replicate that now in double elixir time. He's going to be able to cycle his Expo pretty fast, but it all comes down to whether he actually wants to handle this push first, or...
Yeah, I'm not convinced actually that Rocket's such a great answer to Expo. You know what I mean? It's, It's Trainer Garrett is happy to make that trade over
Every time.
and over
Yeah.
and over
So
again.
Let's just keep going. I'll win.
And it's crazy is they both have Inferno Tower, but he's opting to use the Rocket instead of the Inferno Tower, because when you play the Inferno Tower down, you start to get into that mix of like, oh, well, he could put guards in front, he could put minions, skeletons, there's a lot of things that you could put in the way.
I actually think this is the better answer. Have your Expo with the opponent's Expo and then decide to rocket after you've traded out, because then you have an opportunity for counterattack. And I think that that's going to be the big thing that changes the game for Boom. Now, we do have to realize that Trainer Garrett at least has not shown, but there's not been a single spell played on Trainer Garrett's side. And I think if you play solidly, you can definitely still come back from this.
And it's worth mentioning that actually, as much as we've been kind of bagging on Boom not getting a lot of damage on there, he's actually gotten a decent amount, and he's only 2 rockets away from winning.
Every single Expo that Boom has played has actually been relatively effective, much more effective than the Expos that Trainer Garrett has been playing, especially because Boom has been trading with the Rocket. It comes down to execution, and this actually might be the nail in the coffin, because remember, Crossbow means that he has less of a journey to make, and he's within the kill zone. I think Rocket is in.
Wow! There it is, though.
How
Trainer
frustrating is
Garrett
that?
Going up 3-1 against Boom. Congratulations. He is our Coronation Day number 5 champion.
It's so important. Tower health is what wins you matches, right? Because you can play whatever sick plays you want. You can 360 no
Didn't go very
scope,
far.
520 mini P.E.K.K.A,
To the fire.
monitor off.
Can someone do this?
multi-kill.
I've never seen that play.
You know, you can do whatever big plays you want, but at the end of the day, if you do not maintain your tower health, you lose, and that's exactly what happened to Boom. Every single time the Expo came up, Boom was not making sure that he had a troop on the field, even if it's playing skeletons on the other side of the map.
Just to distract it. Just for
Yeah,
a second.
just to distract the Expo. You know that the Rocket isn't enough to clear out the Expo in one go, so just play something to make sure that you're maintaining your tower health.
All right.
Let's take a look at the replay from this
The
amazing
finals.
final match.
Yeah, we see Trainer Garrett fighting against a Royal Giant drop on the left side, and I really think that this was a good choice for Trainer Garrett to put minimal defense for the Golem and then invest all the rest of his elixir into using Lightning, Mega Minion, and pushing archers onto the other side of the field, gets a tower, and that really, I think that decision making is what makes or breaks kind of a champion in this tournament scene.
Yeah, Trainer Garrett is a hero to all tank pushing players out there, because he's had a few golems that didn't do much and it looked like he was really far behind, but what he was really doing was learning. He was watching what his opponent was going to do. He was planning out the perfect sequence of cards for that one critical attack to win. And in multiple games throughout this top 8, we saw him come from behind with just one critical golem push to win the game.
Now, talking about Rocket and Fireball, Rocket's slower traveling than Fireball, correct?
Is that what did it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rocket's
Oh.
definitely slower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And but I think really even though we saw those final spells end the game, what really won the game was Trainer Garrett continuing to put out Expo, and Boom just kept rocking it.
Yeah.
He changed his line of play, but it was too late. It was too late. He had already taken 1,500 or more damage by the time he
much.
said, "This isn't working. We got to switch it up." If he had switched it up maybe earlier, who knows?
Yeah, all right. Well, let's take a look at now the bracket finally for a quick recap of the day. Rumham, Rainey, walk us through the journey.
It was crazy to start. I mean, we saw so many different
many
decks.
2-0s.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of 2-0s
show
and a
it
lot of
fast.
different decks. We've had Lava Hound, we've had Inferno Dragon, but again, the story is those decks don't make it to the finals. And really, it's about Royal Giant, it's about Expo, and I still can't believe, Rumham, tell me if I'm crazy, but I still can't believe people are playing Expo. Why?
Well, maybe they've been put on notice now. Expo, very strong deck. Probably the strongest one-dimensional deck in the entire game right now. It only does one thing, but when it does its one thing, it's better than any
you're
other
done.
deck out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
But people have been bringing decks now that are not going to let Expo do its thing. From Giant Bowler to Golem Furnace to Royal Giant decks, everyone is packing at least something to stop Expo from beating you. So you either need to evolve your Expo deck to beat these sort of decks, or find something new. What beats Golem Furnace? What beats Giant Bowler without being vulnerable necessarily to Expo? Maybe balloon decks? Maybe
I would love
that'd
to
be
see
a new
interesting.
type of Lava Hound? We'll have to see.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, not only is our winner taking home $2,000
2,000.
and a chance to go to the Crown Duels, which
That's right.
he could end up winning $15,000
Garrett
at
could
the
be the
end
guy.
of all of this. Trainer Garrett will be remembered throughout Clash history because of his epic wins today. So if you want to be like Trainer Garrett, go on to ClashRoyaleOpen.com where you can sign up for our next duels tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. Again,
Right
our
here.
next we broadcast every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow, Halloween.
Don't get spooky.
Bring some graveyards,
That's right.
you spooky
Yeah,
players.
come on. I want to see a
I wanna see it.
I was so pumped. You asked me. I was like, how many graveyards? I'm
All
like,
of them.
everyone.
No.
Everyone's
Yeah,
running
I
graveyards
thought so
today.
too. I mean, there were players in the elimination round running double graveyard, so if they get a little bit more
Come back
skill with their deck
tomorrow.
or
Yep.
a little bit more lucky, we
It's
might be
new,
seeing
it's
some
new.
graveyard
Yeah.
tomorrow. I hope so. For Halloween, I can't imagine a better deck to
So
win.
great.
We should. I mean,
yeah.
we can't do this technically or legally, but we should have made it like a you have to.
Requirement
gotta-
for tomorrow.
If you sign up for tomorrow, you have to run graveyard.
Unofficially.
That's not it though. So again, go over to the website so you guys can sign up. We now have 11 more of these to go, so you have 11 more chances to making it here to the Clash Royale North American Opens, where you could be taking home $2,000 and also a chance to move on to the Crown Duels. Before we go, guys, any final words, any final thoughts for the day, or encouragement to anyone out there?
I think Trainer Garrett played really, really well.
Yeah.
I think just solid, good decision making.
Golem killing it.
Golem's
that
been
was
coming.
his card.
I predict Golem Mania is going to be running wild up and down the ladder.
Can't wait to see all those Golem and Golem mites. Well, everyone, on behalf of everyone here at the official Supercell Clash Royale North American Opens, broadcasted out of NGE Studios here in Burbank, California, that is Rumham and Rainey.
I'm Ella.
I'm Christian.
and have a most ridiculous night.
Thank you. Man, Ice Golem is getting a bump.
Getting better, yeah.
He's getting
I
better.
was so gone. He's
True
actually-
story. It could get worse. I mean, like, I don't think it needed to get better. It could have gotten worse. It's
killing.
real strong card.